Hello and welcome to Autopolis, Japan, for the ninth and penultimate series of races for the 2022-2023 EERC British Touring Car Championship. My name is Edward Hunter. Alongside me, of course, is Nick Homewood. After a pretty exciting 3 races at Alton Park, here we are then in another new venue then, Nick. And it's Autopolis. It's not one of the better known Japan tracks that Japan has to offer, it must be said, but it should make for some interesting races here. Obviously, a lot of long straights, tight hairpins, so it's a track with a lot of different facets to it. I have a feeling it's going to be another front-wheel drive venue here, with maybe a couple of corner exceptions.
I think this could be quite mixed. It's a very long track as well. It'll be the longest on the calendar, except for Bathurst, Mount Panorama. So I think it'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, pretty long laps here. 1:49, I think, is the quickest.
Yep.
1:49.3 by Scott Sovic in the independent Ballas Esport entry. As practice continues on. So while we wait for qualifying to start, Nick, shall we very briefly go over the championship standings? And because both of them could be wrapped up today, of course, if things go away for certain drivers and teams.
Yeps.
Yeps, that's
Yep.
multiple yeps. Okay.
I'm so excited, you can tell.
Yeah, that's a sign of a happy race director, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, so championship position in the Drivers' Championship. It is Louis Hartley leading on 259 points, which means he gets 75 kilograms of ballast in the back of his Finovond green car. Chris English is second with 221 points, so he's 38 then behind his title rival Louis Hartley, after Chris English, despite winning race 2, had a very difficult races 1 and 3 at Alton Park. So he's got 66 kilograms of ballast to lug around here in Autopolis, so that's going to really hurt him down the straight, but not as much as Louis Hartley, of course. Carl Benton is third, and I believe Carl Benton is the only other one in mathematical contention, because he is, let's see, on 194 points, he is about 64 points, I think, behind Louis Hartley. And I think Roy Seifert is a little bit further down.
So Roy is exactly 100 points behind Louis. So Louis would need to DNF every race, and Roy would need to win.
Realistically, Kyle is the last one.
Yeah.
But there we go. So it's either going to be Finovond or Gravel Trap that takes the Drivers' Championship in the form of Hartley, English, or Benton. And I have a feeling it's going to be another Hartley, English contest here. Seifert, as you mentioned, fourth, 159 points, 48 kilograms of ballast in the back of him. Peter Schoenemann, after a pretty strong showing in Alton Park, 123 points to his name. Fifth in the championship, 39 kilograms in the back of his car. Remco de Zeeuw, after having been struggling in recent races, he is sixth. 120 points to his name, 33 kilograms in the back of that car. Matt Richards, who I believe is not here, has 116 points to his name.
He's due to be here.
112 points, so she's checked out quite a while ago, but still in the top 8. Andy Simmons, who missed the last round in Alton Park, 107 points to his name, 15 kilograms in the back of him. And then Mario Valencia, who won in race 1 last time out at Alton Park, he's also got 107 points. He's got 9 kilograms. And then it is in 11th, we've got Sovic Moynier for Hunter Burt Simulation in 12th, Jack Vermillion in 13th, Adam Ziola 14th, Igor Staniarek 15th, Ten Lewid 16th, Luke Mitchell 17th, Paul Venter 18th, Neil Greening 19th, and Alessandro Valente, who's had to drop out at the last minute, rounding out the top 20 from the likes of Eggert, Hood, Chute, and Ryan Barrington-Smith.
So yeah, we've got a few people who are due to be here who don't seem to be here. So it doesn't.
Yeah, I believe Scott Sovic has pretty much wrapped up the Independence Championship, given that he's the only independent driver left.
Yep, definitely.
With Alessio Ardito leaving, Stan Gjorvad also leaving, Alex Haller's leaving, and Tim Taylor, I think, only getting 2 points to his name. Teams Championship, that's another interesting one. Gravel Trap Racing, 522 points to Hunter Burt Simulation, 420. So Finovond Green are officially out, I think, at title contention on 370 points in third. So it is Hunter Birch will need to get the gap down to under 60 points, I think, to stay in contention, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so the maximum amount of points on offer in a weekend is 157.
It's still only a
156.
40-point swing.
Yep.
As we see Chris English has joined the server, but somebody else has left, I think, because we're
It's
down to
Loic.
11 again. Ah, well, that's not good.
There's a few people who are having some R-Factor issues after the new update, it looks like. We've got a 5-minute delay to quali. We'll start at 1/2 past instead of 25 past as we scheduled.
All right. So just 3 minutes to go then. There's Rimco Duzu, who, despite not having done that much practice, seems to be getting along quite nicely in the practice session at least, with Oliver Hargitay close behind, it would seem. Only about 5/10 between the two. But it's looking like Hartley and Sovic are probably the two quickest ones so far that we've seen. So Gravel Trap, the Ford Focus, might not be the car of choice here. From what we've seen in the early showings.
Well, Chris English has only just joined the server. He was also having some game issues, so these might be his first laps.
No sign of Andy Simmons yet, so it could just be another English Benton double up pairing then.
Andy is due to be here again.
Yeah. Well, we should have at least 12 drivers then, maybe 13.
It's still not great, is it?
Well, I guess because it's the end of the championship, isn't it? The people who have kind of left and given up have their absence is very much felt. As there we go, that looks like somebody rejoining the server.
And gone again.
Oh. Well, there we go. That's the entertainment we've got so far, ladies and gents. As you see, Louis Hartley just negotiating. That's the final corner. There's a sort of kink after that long radius. What's it called? What's the penultimate corner called? There's names for all these corners at Autopolis. I should really look them up so I can reference them during the race.
They've got weird names. It's just called Final Turn.
Yeah, final turn, which is turn 17, preceded by turn 18, which is the actual final turn. Turn 1 is just called first turn. Turn 6 is called first hairpin turn, as we go out on board with Remco Duzu. Going into first turn. Turn 10 is second hairpin turn, preceded by roller coaster straight. I believe there is a roller coaster as Remco Duzu cuts through the gravel on exit. And then the other named turn is final turn, as you said, which is not the actual final turn, hilariously enough. Although it is, I think, on one of the alternate layouts, it might be the final turn. It's certainly the final turn that you have to brake for, at least.
Okay, well, people still seem to be leaving and joining again at an alarming rate.
I believe Autopolis is most famous for hosting a Super GT and Super Formula, I believe. So that's what the track sees most usage today, or potentially sometimes get GT Asia or other sorts of series go to Autopolis as well.
It's quite an underutilized track, I think. It's quite a good one.
It is. I think it's somewhat overshadowed by Fuji and Suzuka, isn't it?
Yep.
In terms of Japanese tracks, which is a bit of a shame. So there are a few others like Okayama and potentially even Formula E might do a Tokyo Street Circuit if they've signed a sort of option to do that in the near future. As we wait for the server to tick over in the next few
we're going to have 5 more minutes to help these people sort out their games.
Yep, sure thing. So unfortunately Josh won't be joining, so Nick, you'll have to focus on that and I'll just ramble on, I guess, while we wait. But anyway, let's very briefly go through the tyre choices. Very exciting to always look at the tyre choices, because everyone's had to lock them in an hour before the start. So we have got Maximilian Petravsky, who's apparently very ill. He's using the option tyre in race 1. Matt Richards would be using it if he's here, but he isn't at the moment. Loic Moynier is definitely using the options in race 1 because that's what I signed him up to do. As is Carl Benton from Gravel Trap, interestingly. Chris Hood from Scuderia Mare also using the options in race 1. Alan Kopik as well. And
not
then
here.
We've also not here. And we got Louis Hartley as well. So our championship leader and a couple other of the big hitters getting the soft tyres out of the way in the first race. Race 2, it's Roy Seifert from the sole remaining Kings Esports, Kings Dealers, I believe, entry in race 2. Alessandro Valente would be using, he's had to drop out due to work commitments. Louis Hesketh, again, another one who's still on the sign-up sheet despite the fact that he never shows up. James Smagersgale, that's a bit harsh.
He is here?
Oh, he is here. Okay.
He just arrived as we speak.
Okay, well, I've sort of... well, that bitterness, he seems to be doing it just to spite me after I've been so bitter about him ditching my team to go to Scuderia Mare.
Oh,
just like...
a bit of a... What's going on in the pit lane here?
Oh, is that... That's not Oliver, is it? Oh, is it... no, it's Loic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Number 6. Just getting his bearings after coming in and out quite a bit. There's Carl Benton in the Gravel Trap, and this could well be the race where Gravel Trap seals the team's championship. I think the drivers might be a little bit harder to clinch, but if they've got all 3 cars there, then I think with the help of Andy Simmons, then I think Gravel Trap stand a pretty good chance. Where was I then? Smagersgale using the options in race 2. And Joe Kronk and Scott Sovic, the independent who's been doing pretty well in all these practice sessions. Hargitai has also set the fastest lap of session so far, it would seem. 1:48.5. Speaking of which, race 3, that's where all our remaining guys. So we've got Studniarek from SZ Racing, Remco Dizu from Hunterbird Simulation, Chris English from Gravel Trap, Adam Ziola from SZ Racing, Oliver Hargitai from Hunterbird Simulation, our new driver, of course. Andy Simmons from Gravel Trap, Peter Schoenemann from Finavond, Pascal Eggert from Finavond, and Mario Valencia also from Finavond. All of those drivers using the options in race 3. So 2 is the sort of underutilized one. So Roy Seifert, Smagersgale, Hesketh, Kronk, who's not here, and Sovic, all looking at a pretty big advantage over the more fancied runners in race 2. So there's a big spread of strategy here at Autopolis.
And there's a big step between the two compounds as well. It's the hard and the softs, no mediums.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I think the really interesting one is Louis Hartley getting the softs out of the way in race 1. Chris English, you're going to use them in race 3. So that means they're basically both doing the opposite strategies.
Here's Andy Simmons.
There we go. Ah, damn it. But anyway, there goes Teams Championship chances then. But good for Gravel Trap, of course. They certainly need the practice. But Hargitai is certainly setting some impressive lap times in practice. Let's hope he can replicate them in qualifying for our sake. But Hargitai, very quick from his driving. I remember, of course, he was part of the runner-up, the team that finished runners-up, I think, 2 years in a row in GD3 in the Endurance Championship, which is starting up again in about a month's time, isn't it? In Turkey, of course, Istanbul.
25th of March. It's a Saturday.
I believe so.
25th.
Yeah, 25th. Yeah, I was thinking 25th. I got some news, by the way. I've got a new driver for my endurance lineup who wants to join in. It's Caitlin Penny, who is interested in driving. So another fellow commentator turned driver. Well, actually, I think she was a driver first, wasn't she? She wants to drive our GD3 car. Of course, we're on the first on the reserves list, so we need someone to drop out ahead of Istanbul. So let's hope Max Petravsky takes a whole month, just over a month, to recover from his ill. Nah, that's cruel.
Well, he said he's not actually ill as such. He just ate a chili, and it's disagreed with him.
Okay, let's hope we can strategically plan another chili just before Turkey.
Okay, we are moving to quali.
Oh, here we go. Very, very exciting then. But GD3 team. In a partnership, by the way, with Tom Dillon's Reading Game Studios. I wasn't sure whether just to call this Hunter Birch / Reading Game Studios, so I thought I'd put it both on the sign-up sheet. It will probably just be called Hunter Birch Simulation, but we have a sort of joint logo that I think Tom is working on, but for the LMP2 car. But we've got Jack Giordamana, Thomas Renike, Caitlin Penny, and Ryan Mazumder, of course. That's a very, very exciting lineup, if nothing else. They're not necessarily the quickest out there, I think it's fair to say, but they might be fairly consistent. Our aim is to sort of finish in the top 6 in GD3 class, at least a couple of races. Top 6, top 7, I think is what we're hoping for, which I think is pretty realistic, as we see qualifying beginning, Nick, and it's Loic Moynier who's first out, of course, having missed most of practice there. So, but he has been busy coaching Oliver into the team, of course, and doing a great job as well. I think Loic Moynier has really emerged. Loic and Remco have emerged as real team leaders, both of them, at Hunter Birch, since Mia Rose decided the update wasn't for her, and back to the pits he goes. And there's Louis Hartley then.
Smagersgale joins again.
There we go. So everyone desperately trying to get their quality laps in, aren't they? 12 drivers on the server at the moment. So we have 2 Hunter Birches.
Benton and Sovic have just been had their games crash.
Oh, 3. Well, we've got 3 Hunter Birches, 3 Gravel Traps, I think. No, or is it just the 2?
We got 3 again now.
Yeah, Benton's has come back in.
It seems this new R-Factor update has some, let's call it, stability issues.
Yeah. We have got Louis Hartley, Peter Schoenemann, and Pascal Eggert. So that's 3 Finavons, although in different teams. So 3 Hunter Birches, 3 Gravel Tracks, 3 Finavons. I think 2 Scuderia Moreras, which is what we're expecting. Hood and Smagersgale. And anybody else? We got Ballas Esport in Sovic, of course, who should be around somewhere. That's him on the timing grid. Oh, and 2 SZs, of course.
Yep, Sovic is on his way back. He's just had a game issue.
Yep. But anyway, It looks like, actually, I thought Moynier disconnected, but that was just a camera switch. So it looks like Moynier is going to be first to set a lap. Then it'll be Louis Hartley, then Andy Simmons, then Stydniarek, then Oliver Hargitay, Adam Ziola, Chris English, Chris Hood, Pascal Eggert, Peter Schoenman, and then a big gap to Carl Benton, Remco de Zieu,
Should
and
we ride on
Smagaskale
board
not on track.
with Loic for his lap?
Sure thing. Let's see. So Loic Moynier has really got the rear-wheel drive down pat this phase of the season. Of course, winner in Rockingham, race 3. But and had a couple of close calls on podium finishes as well, particularly at Alton Park. Remember that race 2 drive where he snuck what ended up being the podium due to a penalty for his teammate, Ten Lua, who is not in the driving lineup for this round. That's why we kind of got Oliver in, because Ten seemed to keep crashing into Peter, which I wasn't thrilled about. But anyway, into turn 2, and now 3, into first hairpin, which is of course turn 4. I look like Moynier going the full opposite lock there through
All
the.
a bit wide through there.
That's compromised his entry into first hairpin. Now down into turn 7, turn 8, turn 9. This soft right hand, I say soft right hand, it's an easy right, as they say in rallying terms. Now into second hairpin turn, turn 10. And he really hooks that one up. Now onto roller coaster straight.
And it's, look how steep down it is.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see too many overtakes at the end of roller coaster straight, but you never know. It really depends about your exit from turn 10, doesn't it?
Yep.
Because it's such a shallow corner, sort of almost 90 degree, but not quite turn 11.
And no push to pass anymore. These are the
Of course,
2021 cars without push to pass.
We were having a lot of issues with push to pass, weren't we? It looks like a real wild ride, and Moynier has really got to have his reactions on him as he's soaring away at the wheel here. Under the bridge he goes, in through turn 16, into final turn 17, and 18 just beyond it as well. So this is where you've really got to hold on in the middle there, and then you got to drift out. Over the curb he goes. Oh, just has a little moment as he steadies himself for the straight. Across the line we go, and that should be the fastest time, and the first time, of course, since nobody else behind him has set a lap time yet. But here comes Louis Hartley. Will he eclipse that? 1:49.2. So he was a little bit behind. It was 47.3 from Moynier. So that's actually very, very quick indeed for a first lap. Indeed, it's the fastest lap we've seen yet in all the practice that we've seen this earlier today. Hargitay goes third fastest from Ziola, Simmons. English goes fourth fastest, actually just ahead of Ziola. Behind Simmons, it's Stydniarek.
Yeah, everyone out on the track except Stydniarek and Smagaskale at the minute.
And here we go, a few more times coming across the line. That looks like Chris Hood goes fourth for Scuderia Moreira, and Pascal Eggert goes sixth for Frinavond. I keep saying Frinavond. I keep adding an R to that now. I should say Finavond. I've got the little sticker that you gave me, Nick.
Yeah.
I put on my dad's cycling helmet, which is still there, by the way. I've passing it. He's got on a box of wine, I think, in the hallway for some reason, but she's never bothered to enlighten me about. Adam Ziola. I just thought you said a personal best, but it's actually showing 36.7, which is slower than his personal
Here comes
best.
Benton.
Carl Benton then last of the front runners, I think, to cross the line. Here we go. What's this going to be? This is going to be quite quick, isn't it? It's going to put him third fastest there, just ahead of Oliver Hargitay then. So that's Carl Benton making a statement of intent for Gravel Trap that the rear-wheel drive cars and the Frinavonds are not going to have it their own way.
Benton versus Hartley could be interesting in this first race. Both with
true.
ballast, both with the soft tyre.
But Chris English down in sixth really needs to get in front of Hood and Hargitay, doesn't he? And it's opening. Oh, he's not on a great middle sector here, is Chris English. So this isn't looking too promising at the moment. Louis Hartley's about to pump in another lap time here, but it's not quicker.
Ooh, as he's gone back to the pits.
Yeah, like Moynier currently,
Hargitay
that
second.
first lap time by Moynier that we were on board with, a whole second faster than Hargitay, who's just gone up to second. So it's Hunter Birch 1-2 at the moment.
Simmons fifth. Sixth, as English goes fifth.
There we go. So the Gravel Trap guys are converging then. Benton, English, Simmons. And Simmons will be glad to be back after missing Alton Park. So the team desperately need him to keep pumping in the points. Remco de Zieu goes fifth. which is very good. So this seems, the rear-wheel drive doesn't seem too bad here. The SZ guys, Zero and Sydney Arik, rounding out the field from Smaggersgale. He's yet to set a time yet, but here comes Carl Benton, looking to break back into the top 3 here. Only just less than 2 tenths behind Louis Hartley. 43.9 in the middle sector, a personal best as he rides the curbs, and that Ford Focus does look very well settled, doesn't it? But I guess it's not got quite the oversteery setup that the rear-wheel drive cars have, does it?
More understeer. You got oversteer and understeer with these cars, and choose which one you dislike the least.
Yeah, and look at that bowl of spectators as well. That's quite a nice feature of this circuit. Across the line he goes, and he does beat Louis Hartley. There we go. So that's a 149.1. So that's only just beating Louis Hartley's time, which was 0.065 behind. So there's Louis Hartley on an outlap, about to make his counter-strike. Smaggersgale, I think, still just starting his first lap then at the real... Or is he still in the pit lane?
I think he's having some more issues. It doesn't look like he's having a great day.
No, poor James. He didn't have a great time in Alton Park either, if I remember correctly. But Chris Hood was certainly back on better form at 8th at the moment, just ahead of Pascal Eggert. I think Chris Hood will be happy with that. But Louis Hartley will be reeling from the fact that Mario Valencia is not there. He could really do with a teammate, couldn't he? He's had to be alone for most of the season, despite having the other Finnavon drivers there.
Mario forgot that it was his dad's birthday today, and he said he might make it for race 2 and 3.
Okay, well, fingers crossed for him then. But Louis Hartley then starts another lap. Needs to get back on the podium because he's Chris English 6th at the moment, and Remco de Zoo is the only thing in between Louis Hartley and his starter rival. Louis Hartley goes back to the pit, so clearly he didn't like that first corner that he took. Who is fast out there at the moment? Benton, 34.2, 43.8 in the second sector. So Benton going fairly quickly at the moment. Andy Simmons, 34.6 in the first sector. Chris Hood, 34.2. And Luc Monnier, 33.9. So Monnier going even quicker.
Maybe this is a rear-wheel drive track.
Yeah, it feels like a very difficult track to get to grips with, of course, because you've got all those hairpins, and we even were on board with Lloyd the first hairpin, because he was sort of drifting from the entry, wasn't he? Was it turn 5, I think, turns 4 and 5, those two left-handers. A little bit like Turkey, isn't it, with a constant radius, turn 8, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah.
Where you really have to have the car sort of set up or you have to sort of control the power slide, because of course there's no tyre wear, so you don't have to worry about destroying the tyres, the rear tyres through there and drifting out. Louis Hartley goes what looks like this is an outlap, so it doesn't matter if he goes green. Luc Monnier is on best lap of the session so far at the moment, 33.9 in sector 1, 43.2 in sector 2, which is lightning fast.
Ooh, wide for Hartley.
Oh, this is an outlap for Louis, so he's getting the tyres into temperature. Carl Benton sits at 34.2, so a little bit faster than Hargitay actually in sector 1. Oliver Hargitay's very slow middle sector. Luc Monnier sits at 48.5 on that last lap, which wasn't quite as quick as his 47.3 from earlier. So really, Monnier has sort of done all the work early on, hasn't he? And he'll have the softs for race 1. So Monnier is looking in a good position. He can potentially have Hargitay defending from Benton and Hartley behind him as well.
I think Benton is going to want to be backing Hartley up into English.
Yeah, but Hartley will have the soft tyres too.
So does Benton, as Shinneman goes 5th.
There we go. Good lap from Peter. He's definitely on better form recently, isn't he?
Scott Sovic has just managed to get back into the game as well.
Oh, fortuitous, but he's only got 4.5 minutes really to set his lap time as Scott Sovic. Carl Benton now comes back out for another run. Half a second behind Oliver Hargitay.
English is on an outlap. Simmons is on a lap.
English has been bumped down to 8th, really. So Simmons and Schoenman have really knocked him down the order a bit. And this is sort of what happened at Alton Park as well, where he didn't qualify well for race 1 there either. And that sort of set him up to have a bad race 1. Had a brilliant recovery in race 2 when it rained, of course. And then race 3 was a little bit messy from English again, wasn't it? Where he got sort of in trouble.
Yeah, well, the weather's back on random, so anything can happen.
Yeah, I think it was 90 degrees track temperature, dry 42 degrees, 0.7 degrees Celsius in terms of the air temperature. Or is that just the... I'm trying to figure out what the chance of rain is. I think it says that there's a picture of the car crashing and it says 50%. I'm not sure if that's chance of rain or just chance of people crashing out.
As Loic goes even quicker.
Oh my goodness, 47.2. So he's taking a tenth off of that one and extending out to Hargitay to 1.182. So that is very impressive. There's Sovic on an outlap, but he's pushing it because he wants to get as many of these laps in as he can.
He might get 2 just.
Yeah, but you got to think Sovic could really be a factor here if he can get a good lap in. You only need 1, as we saw from Loic. That lap he set at the beginning was good enough to basically for pole position at the moment, unless Hargitay can improve a little bit.
Oh, there's Louis Hesketh, is it?
Oh, there we go. 15 drivers then. So we are going to have enough for reverse grid to matter if everybody finishes.
It's been a bit of a slow burn today, people joining.
Yep. So Hesketh, he'll hope to get a lap in with 2.5 minutes remaining.
Better get his foot down.
Yeah, who is at time screens of lights at the moment? Lots of 34 laps. Remco Disease, it's a 34.4. Simmons, it's a 34.6 and 150. A pretty slow lap there, to be honest. 34.39 for Chris English. So English on a better lap here. Could potentially get back into the top 6 here.
So here goes Sovic. He will get 2 laps, I believe, as long as he doesn't make a mistake.
So maximum pressure then on Scott Sovic. Behind him on track is English, I think, is just about to finish his lap time, and he does indeed get back into the top 6, just ahead of Remco de Zieu by 0.029 of a second as well. As always, that English blowing the engine as well at the exit turn 1.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get another lap in.
Oh, well, there we go. So that could leave him potentially vulnerable. 1 point. Yeah, he's just got under just under 2 minutes, and the lap times here are at full speed.
That will be close.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. Who else is looking a bit vulnerable? I think...
Very good first sector from Sovic.
Yeah, Pascal Eggert should be coming in to finish his lap very soon as well. And that might be his penultimate one. Here he is. This is an out lap, so this will be his final lap then. Over the line you go. Oh, I like the little sound effect.
Sovikov.
Oh dear, so clearly Sovic putting himself under too much pressure, and now it's all down to his final lap then. He's got to get the gravel off those tyres. And who else is improving out there? Peter Schumann's at a 34.1 in the first sector, which is pretty solid. 5th at the moment for the Finnevon driver, fighting with Louis Hartley at the moment. So Louis might be on the blower saying, back off, Peter. But I'm not sure... I'm not sure Pascal would approve, given it's a different team, technically.
Yeah, 2 different teams, so...
Yeah, Andy Simmons crosses the line now. And what will that be? I don't think it's a better lap. I think it's...
Yeah, he's in the gravel.
Yeah, so that could be it for Andy Simmons. 8th fastest then. Anybody else improving? Carl Benton goes 3rd fastest there, ahead of Louis Hartley. So that is absolutely crucial. He's only about 0.3 tenths of a second behind Oliver Hargitay as well. So brilliant effort for the gravel trap driver there.
I don't know how Loic is so far ahead, really. It must have been a blinder.
Benton is fresh off, and the Sovic sets 10th fastest time, so he does sneak into the top 10, much to the consternation of Chris Hood, who is narrowly beaten there.
But Sovic made that mistake, so he's got 1 more try, and he could be right up there.
Yeah, 12 seconds to go, and we see 4 drivers about to cross the line then.
Hartley overtakes Benton.
Oh, there we go. So revenge for Louis Hartley then. Immediately counting a 148.5, and only 3 tenths again behind Hargitay, who's improved once more. And we see the checkered flag is out, so I don't see Benton recovering because I think he crossed the line.
Pushing.
Yeah, he did set a 34.4 in the first sector, but he's backed off since then. Who else is going quickly? 34.6 for Ziola. 33.9 for Sovic in the first sector. So Sovic's the one to watch. Moynier sits at 33.6, purple first sector. So Moynier is going even quicker, if that were possible.
I think he likes this track, maybe.
Quite possibly, quite possibly. As we see Sovic going into the second sector then. It's not a personal best, but it's quicker than some of his competitors out there by quite some margin, actually. Only about 3 tenths off what Moynier is doing. Second sector now just coming up. Personal best there, so he didn't blow it on this occasion. He's just in the middle sector now, is Sovic. These constant radius corners really giving a challenge for that forward focus. Now just the run to the line to go then for Sovic. What is it going to be? It was 43.6 in the middle sector. So this could be pretty impressive. Moynier starts at 42.9. Sovic goes third fastest. Wow, beats Louis Hartley.
Very
at the
close
death there. And wow, what a lap there from with maximum pressure on Sovic. He was
this
able
is
to
a
deliver
lap.
there.
Look at
But
this.
here comes Moynier. He's going to well and truly set the time screens alight. Will we see a 146 here? No, 47.0. Oh, so close, but just necessarily a second and a half quicker than Oliver Hargitay, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I definitely think he enjoyed that that track.
Yeah, 1.3 clear of his teammate. So, and I think he was one of the last drivers to go then. Just Louis Hesketh and Pascal Eggert on track and Hesketh crawling around. I think that's... So here we go then. The final results from qualifying here at Autopolis. Loic Moynier takes pole position from his teammate Oliver Hargitay. So it's the two former Iris Morera drivers looking out the front row for Hunterbert Simulation. Then it's Sovic for Ballers Esports. Louis Hartley fourth for Finnavon, the championship leader, ahead of Chris English, well and truly. Carl Benton fifth, just losing out to Louis Hartley. Very close between Hartley and Sovic as well. Not by 4 thousandths of a second between the two. Peter Schumann takes sixth after a very impressive lap there. Remco Duziu seventh, ahead of Chris English, Andy Simmons. So Hunter Birch in advantage over gravel track vader this race one, at least on the starting grid. Adam Ziola rounds out the top 10 from Igor Studniarek. Chris Hood is 12th from Pascal Eggert, James Megascale, and Louis Hesketh, bringing up the rear of the field 9 seconds down. So I think Hesketh has got quite a lot to learn then. As we wait now for race one to begin. So some big surprises there, Nick. Hunter Birch looking out the front row, and Gravel Trap somewhat struggling.
Yeah, I think this
Apart from Benton. Benton was the only one who seemed on the pace. And Sovic getting in that late lap right when he needed it as well.
This is definitely a practice track. You can't just jump in and expect to be competitive. So I think Loic's definitely done some practice.
Yeah, and I think that really shows the difference. Well, Remco admitted he didn't do that much practice, and he's down in seventh while his teammates look out the front row. But still, some good points on offer here for all the drivers, really. But especially Hunter Birch with that front row lockout. I've got to hope they don't take each other out here. So, famous last words. Give a message of support then.
Okay. Here we go.
All right, so the grid forming up then.
It's 5 seconds.
So we're about to get going for race one here in Autopolis. And the field is now released, and it's a terrible start for Hargitay. But Moynier rockets away, and it is Sovic that gets up into second place, and they're almost going 4 wide down the straight there. And Sovic clips in. Can Carl Benton take third from Oliver Hargitay, and indeed Louis Hartley going through as well. So Hargitay bumped down to fifth, and that was all to do with the getaway. I think it was too much revs as Chris Hood cuts to the inside. I think he got nudged out the way there. But let's remind ourselves of the tyre choice here. It is Loic Moynier on the softs. Sovic, I think, on the is have the softs ready for race 2, so he's on the hards. Then it is Benton on the softs.
Hartley on the softs.
Hartley on the softs. Hargitay also on the hards. So that is your top 5 then. So we got a cork in the bottle here as in the form of Sovic. There's Remco Duziu holding on to 9th at the moment, and there's a spun car ahead of them. I'm not sure who that was.
Is it Schunemann? No. Oh, it's Hesketh was off, I think.
Oh, it was Louis Hesketh then. So having a bit of an adventure there in the Morera car.
Oh, what was that? Benton has passed Sovic.
That's Hartley passing Sovic as well. So Sovic makes a mistake there on the harder tyres. And now Sovic has got Hargitay about to go up the inside into turn 11. Just gets held off there. And Andy Simmons a little bit away adrift, I think, on the hard tyres there.
Trying to get used to these new camera controls. It's a bit weird that it...
I think all the gravel traps have gone for race 2 and 3 to use the softer tyres. Oh, that was one of the Frina Bonds cutting across. I think that must have been...
I think it was Pascal, yeah.
Yeah, Pascal. Just chasing Remco Duziu a bit hard, and Remco has now got Ziola to contend with. Ziola goes off into the gravel, and that's a big mistake for Adam Ziola. Just forgot to turn in, really. Went to the outside line where there's no grip and found himself digging up kitty litter and making a few sandcastles. But anyway, Loic Moynier leads the end of the first lap by 2.7 seconds over Carl Benton for Gravel Trap. Hartley is third, 0.4 behind. Then it is Sovic, Hargitay, Simmons, English, Remco Diziu, Peter Schumann, and Pascal Eggert rounds out the top 10.
As Auto Director decides we need to look at Louis Hesketh. Wrong Louis.
It's the Auto Director's favourite.
Yeah, wrong Louis.
Yeah, there we go. So Hartley now behind Carl Benton in the battle for second. And this could get very interesting indeed, these two soft runners, because they definitely want the better starting position for race 2, where they will not have the advantage of the soft tyres. And they desperately want to keep Loic Moynier, who's also on the same tyres, in sight. But I think probably in the long run was the right decision for Loic Moynier to go for the softs here.
As Smaggersgale is in the pits.
Oh dear, so that's a problem for James. And the Scuderia Marrero driver has to make an unshift. We saw him cut to the inside, so I think there's a more terminal issue potentially with the steering there, as we see that looked like a second hairpin that Moynier was just negotiating, and now comes Benton and Hartley. So Sovic and Hargitay are about 0.6 apart as well, so I think with Simmons just behind, that could be a great battle for fourth, while we look at the battle for the podium. And that looks like one of the Marrero cars making a move. I think that's Chris Hood battling Studniarek.
It is,
Hood on the outside then, into turn 11 is Studniarek going to leave way. Oh, they both turn in together, and that's the one corner I thought they weren't going to fight at the end of Roller Coaster Straight. But what a brilliant move there from Chris Hood to really just he sort of outfoxed Studniarek, didn't he? And
yeah,
I noticed the camera, instead of cutting, just sort of shifts
It's
across.
a bit weird, isn't it? That's the new update in Affect.
Reminds me of the camera settings you get.
Oh!
And that's Remco Diziu making a mistake and going, I did exactly into the wall. And that's exactly what we saw Ziola do earlier, isn't it?
Now he's lost it.
That looks like terminal damage then, potentially, for Remco Diziu. The steering does not look too healthy. And that's exactly what happens when you don't practice, as Moynier sets another fastest lap of the race. But Remco Diziu gets going and desperately needs to at least score some points for Hunderbird Simulation. But I have a feeling he's going to be coming into the pit lane quite soon, or at least trying to hold off Ziola then for the rest of this race. There is Carl Benton.
He's holding off Louis without too much problem.
Louis hasn't looked like he's had too much opportunity here. Hartley sort of goes to the inside of some of these longer radius corners, trying to scare Carl Benton into a mistake, I think.
I think it's a bold move for Louis to go for the softs in race 1, because I think he would still have been competitive without them. And now in race...
they'll probably see out-qualify Benton, and then with the being held up by Sovic and a little bit by Hargitay, he's sort of fallen behind, and now he's found himself in a sort of difficult position, really.
But in race 2 and 3, he's going to be dead meat a little bit with ballast and with the harder tyres when the people...
Well, it depends. He'll have Sovic, who's got the softs in race 2, hasn't he, behind him. If Sovic can finish where he is at the moment, he's got a 1.1 gap to Hargitay now, who's now holding off Andy Simmons, 0.6 behind him. And meanwhile, we've also got a close battle between English, Eggert and Schumann. English has not made a lot of progress in this race so far, 3.5 behind Andy Simmons, isn't he? And we've got Chris Hood, who's starting to catch up to the back of Schumann as well. I think Hood is going to be one to watch in the lower end of the top 10. And Schumann makes a little mistake there, which is going to allow Chris Hood, because he sees gravel being thrown up from the Finnevond in front of him. And that's going to... This is looking
very close.
Yeah, there we go. So Louis looking like he's going to mount an attack then at the end of the straight. Can he make a move into turn 1? New fastest lap from Moynier, but Hartley looking menacing indeed. Is he going to pull out at the last minute to the inside? They both go all the way across for the racing line. And yet again, Carl Benton just holds firm, doesn't he? But it looks like the Finnevond of Hartley still there.
Off. Is he? No, he's been overtaken by Hood.
Oh, good move by Hood then. That must have been at the final corner then, just before turn 18.
We've got a yellow flag. Who is that? Is that Smaggersgale? It's Smaggersgale.
Oh dear. And poor James Smaggersgale in more difficulties in the Chicken Nugget Scuderia Marrero. But Benton doing a great job helping out Loic Moynier here, because I have a feeling Louis Hartley could be a little bit more of a threat if he could clear Carl Benton here. But Benton holding firm, and I think Benton really, I have to say, even though Gravel Trap was sort of the sworn enemies of Simulation at the moment, I have to say he's really impressed me this season with his not only his sportsmanship, allowing Chris English through in 2 occasions, I think, this season, but also being a brilliant defensive driver.
So do you remember in Alton Park race 1 when he just retired the car?
Yeah, he did, because he was on the wrong compound, wasn't he?
So he just, instead of getting disqualified, he just retired the car.
Yeah, I bet the people who are held up by him, including like Moynier, and to an extent Louis Hartley, probably feel a bit annoyed. Well, especially Moynier, but anyway, he'll probably feel. I think he's
Oh,
replaying
it's
the favour now. Oh, and that's English trying to make a move on.
he's being overtaken.
Oh dear, and that is Pascal on the outside of him. Is there going to be enough room? Pascal's going to be on the outside. Here comes Chris Hood taking advantage around the outside. And this is really the brilliance of these long constant radius corners because you can't get involved there. And Chris Hood sticks it out. Another fantastic move, and that's Chris Hood gaining 2 positions on both Finavons in quick succession. And now he's got second place man of the championship, Chris English, in sight.
Chris Hood definitely likes the Hyundai more than he liked the Infiniti.
It's Chris versus Chris. Yes.
It is.
Yes, it seems that ever since he's rejoined Moreira, he's gone back from strength. This is the Chris Hood we saw back in, remember, Nutstorp, where he was constantly making moves. Well, had a few off-track moments, but he's certainly come back a stronger driver. Now he's in a front-wheel drive car. And now Peter fancies a go at Pascal also, as the live timing seems to have gone down on my end.
It should come back in a minute, hopefully.
Yeah. Somebody called Anonymous is clearly a Chris Hood fan because he keeps saying, "Show Hood, babe. I want to see Hood. Do something about it, please."
Here's Hood. He's overtaking
he says,
English.
Thank you, people. Yeah, here we go. So Chris English will not be enjoying this one jot, will he? Because he's about to see the other Chris Hood go around the outside of him. Meanwhile, Hartley still right behind Chris Hood, his teammate Carl Benton.
Hargitay is catching up to Sovic as well. They're quite close.
Yeah, so at the moment, Underbirch, it's sort of even Stevens, isn't it? With Moynier, Benton up front, Hargitay, Simmons in the middle, and then English with a long way ahead, actually, of Remco de Zeeuw after Remco de Zeeuw went into the gravel. But those things can't be helped. Chris Hood goes a little bit deep, which lets Chris English off the hook a little bit on down the roller coaster straight. So the gap now 7.7 seconds then between Moynier and Benton. And here we go, Louis Haskef trying a move on Studniarek then for 12th position and getting held up there. There's Remco de Zeeuw pushing really hard.
Outside.
And that looked like Studniarek really backing off, and Heskef's still there. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? There we go.
Oh wow.
10 out of 10 for bravery there.
I'm quite impressed by Hesketh, having missed qualifying with a game issue. He's come in and he's in 11th.
Well, maybe the Hyundai is the better race car to have, as we're seeing with Louis Hartley as well, all over the back of Benton. I'm sure Benton would like him to go away soon. Hargitay is right behind Sovic, 0.3 seconds as well, by the way. Here they are. And Sovic, of course, hasn't raced in a while. Hargitay racing in British Touring Cars for the first time, and in a rear-wheel drive car, which is probably not the easiest to get to grips. And Hood is past English. Trying to go around the outside at turn 1, and English holds him off. And there's contact between the two cars, Nick. That looked a bit forceful, and that's going to allow Peter Schumann. Is that
that's
Eggert,
Pascal?
sorry.
Yeah, I didn't really see what happened there. We caught.
It looked like he was trying to go through around the outside, and Chris English rather forcefully shut the door on Chris Hood.
Yeah, didn't see if. Yeah, don't want to pass judgment.
This is very impressive by Moynier, by the way. Stretched the gap to 10 seconds over Carl Benton. So Benton, even though he's on the same tyres, having to defend so much, it's cost him. And we see Moynier making the most out of that rear-wheel drive car around here.
Benton and Harley with ballast as well, of course. Loic still doesn't have any.
And a bit of grass kicked up there by Chris English. And that's going to allow Chris Hood to get really close in the hairpin. He'll dive up the inside. Is there anything that Chris English can do? He's forced wide. Will Pascal Eggert get involved as well? He will. And Chris English goes off track again. And that's Chris Hood well and truly past him now. And will Pascal dive up the inside? This could get very messy into turn 11. Side by side they go. Chris English really has to hold his nerve here. And they're still side by side.
He's going wide.
And he forces almost Chris English to go take an unideal line and go wide onto the grass. And that allows Pascal Eggert through. So Chris English down to 9th, which will be music to the ears of Louis Hartley. But Carl Benton's still annoying in front of him, so he can't really see ahead. And that's... and off goes Pascal Eggert, and he spins at turn 14. And that's where they're all getting it wrong, isn't it?
Yep.
They're either going deep in the gravel or going well off track. So Chris English, not quite so bad, but now he's got Peter Schumann, who didn't get us held up there by Pascal spinning in front of him right in the slipstream.
I can see the track conditions look to be changing a bit. It looks a bit darker.
Yeah. It's still 20% and sunny at the moment, so no sign of rain on the horizon. But like Monier, the gap, slightly down to 8 seconds. So Benton responding a little bit. No, it's back down to 10. That was just breaking zone for turn 1, clearly, coming into effect. And Hartley still 0.3 behind Benton.
It's Hesketh's gone wide.
And Hesketh, after making such a brilliant move on Sydney Argolia, immediately blows it. And soon he's going to have Remco de Zoo for company, you'd think, if Remco can keep things on the island.
As Adam Ziola's having a bit of a lonely race.
Bit of a nightmare, really, for Ziola, as Stubniarek well and truly outperforming. Ziola was on the podium at East London not too long ago in race 3, wasn't he?
He was.
And meanwhile, Hargitay still putting pressure on Sovic, but the two of them are now 10, 11 seconds behind Hartley and Benton. So we're seeing sort of gaps starting to emerge, aren't we? With Schumann 0.6 behind Chris English as well.
I mean, race 1 is usually the calmest race.
Magascale is retired, by the way.
Yeah, he's having steering wheel problems.
It's a big shame for him. Let's hope he can sort them out. Because I've had Sean Chute, who was going to drive for me, and then his steering wheel died a couple of days before Alton Park, I think. Which was a big shame for him because he's been waiting all season for a go.
Yep. Well, last race will be the best time if everything's sorted out because there's nothing to play for.
That's true. Well, we'll still have Oliver Hargitay in reserve. I think Oliver's done a pretty good job so far, and
Definitely.
Scott Sobic will probably attest to that. As we see Schoenman starting to pull away from the back of Chris English. And now we see Louis Hartley, first mistake of the race really from Benton, gets a little bit of wheels on the grass. And will the wheels be on the bus then for Gravel Trap? Because here comes Louis Hartley then into the turns 3, 4 and 5. He's got a little run around the outside. Oh, but here we go. The move about to be made by Louis Hartley. He almost at the inside, but Carl Benton shut the door into the first hairpin. Now they come out. And Louis Hartley's going to try again then. And he's on the outside through 8 and 9. Cuts over to the inside.
I think Benton's got this one.
Yeah, Benton really just controlling the racing line. But here comes Hartley to the outside for hairpin number 2. Turn 14. And down roller coaster straight they go. Good exit from the both of them. Can Hartley get the run he needs into turn 11? I don't think so. Carl Benton will just defend the inside.
That all started off in turn 3 when Benton went a bit wide.
It did, yes. Yellow in sector 1.
Was that Eggert?
Not sure. It is Eggert. He's spun again, I think. And behind Stubniarek now. There's Chris Hood. Top 7 now and closing on Andy Simmons, actually, so that he can make Gravel Trap's day a little bit worse. Or at least race 1 a little bit worse. They tend to come back in race 2, don't they, if anything's to go by?
But they've not got the softs in race 2 for once. They've taken them for race 3.
Has any of them got the soft? Benton's using them in race 1. And I think the rest are all doing race 3, aren't they?
Yeah.
Simmons. Look, Monius, it's another fastest lap of the race. It's fastest lap ever, actually. 1:47.705. And Benton, meanwhile, just in full defensive mode, not worrying about Loic Moynier at all now. Hargitay seems to have got past Sovic as well, that we missed.
That happened when this was happening.
It did, yeah, when that battle for third was happening. So, second, sorry. So apologies for that, but great move by Hargitay to outfox Sovic.
So race 2, we've got Sovic, Hesketh, not Hartley, and Smagasgale on the softs.
Yeah, Sovic and Hesketh, I think, will be, not Hesketh. Sovic definitely would be the one to watch, won't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Here comes Louis Hesketh. No, not Louis Hartley, sorry, trying again. Hesketh is down in 12th, and this is the battle for second then between Hartley and Benton. And I think these two got a little bit of previous, as Hesketh actually sets a personal best lap of the race. I wonder if now Hargitay has been released, if he can catch up to these two, but there's only just under a minute and a half left in the race, as Hesketh tries to go around the outside. Hairpin 2. Hartley, sorry.
Yeah,
and Hartley's actually got a good run on the outside here, and he cuts into to get a little bit of slipstream, cuts back to the outside. Benton goes back to the racing line and seems to have it under control.
This is a bit of a defensive masterclass from Benton.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I think Rockingham, he was doing this as well. It might have even been with Louis Hartley right behind him as well. And also Roy Seifert too.
Yeah. It's a shame Roy couldn't make it today.
Yeah, that is a big show. I would love to see how the Toyota would have got on here. I don't think there's any Toyotas in the field.
We got Sovic and Pascal and Peter.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, those three. But Sovic probably the best of them at the moment then in 5th currently.
Benton wide.
Look at this. And Hartley has now got well and truly got a good run. This might be his last opportunity into turn 1 at the end of the main straight. Here they go, building up speed in top gear now. And will Louis Hartley try around the outside and break really late? Here we go. He forces Benton to get really defensive.
gone
Benton
wide.
goes a little bit deep. And Louis Hartley's going to cut underneath. And that's Benton in the gravel. And Hartley through into second position. Oh, he's had to wait a long time for that.
He bided his time.
Yeah, even Carl Benton had to crack at some point, didn't he? So that really shows why Louis Hartley is leading the championship, because he can. We saw that defensive drive race one at Alton Park, and here he was able to maximise the result as Chris Hood, right behind Andy Simmons now, about to make Gravel Trap's day even worse. Oh, and I think one of them hit the gravel there because Chris Hood is even closer now. Here we go. The clock has run out, so I think Loic Mounier is about to finish the final lap in the next few corners.
Yes.
Then. But Chris Hood, desperate to get into the top 6 here. And here we go. What a masterful drive. A defensive masterclass from Carl Benton.
Hood's done it.
Oh, there we go. Great move at the first hairpin then from Chris Hood. Then into the top 6. And look at Simmons sliding. I think the lack of practice beforehand starting to show a little
Chris
bit.
Hood with the option tyres.
Oh, that too. That will probably explain it too. But Chris Hood making the most of them. And that's great to see, of course. With some brilliant overtakes. And Mounier, I think, still going for a fastest lap here. 33.790 in the first sector. But here we go. Out onto the start-finish line. A peerless drive for Loic Mounier. He takes his second win for Hunter Birch Simulation to keep their team's championship hopes alive. He slows down right before the finish. What are you doing, Loic? Here comes Louis Hartley. But he was about 17 seconds behind, to be fair. But what a dominant performance there. I guess Mounier realised he wasn't going to set a... faster lap then. Benton's still right behind Louis Hartley, but here they go across the line, and Benton celebrating being demoted down to third for some reason. Here comes Oliver Hargitay. What a brilliant debut performance from him to beat Scott Sovic. And Sovic, of course, who did hardly any practice at all, still finishing a top 5, which is great for him. And here we go. Stydniarek is closed in on Pascal Eggert, who's really had a difficult end to the race. Hargitay actually sets fastest lap of the race right at the end, 150.2. It looks like Chris Hood is coming through to finish 6th now. Then it's Andy Simmons, Chris English. Very disappointing for both of them. Andy Simmons lets Chris English through. So more teamwork from Gravel Trap to limit the damage for Chris English.
I mean, I must say, I think it might be a little bit past it at this point.
Well, they're keeping it entertaining for us at least.
Yep.
But it was 38 points going in. Louis Hartley has just got, I think, 18 points to his name.
17 for Hartley and... I think
7th place for English.
Yeah, let me just check.
4 points, is it?
My own rules. Hold on.
Yeah, James Smagerscale also has. Did he make it back out on track in the end? He was 7 laps down.
So looks like it. He won't get points.
Remco Dizou finishing 14th, so he really hit trouble near the end.
So if English was 7th, he gets 9. So it's 8 points gain for Hartley. So that is 13 points difference now, I think. So. In the next 2 races, if Hartley outscores English by 13 points, he is the champion.
So 38 plus 13, that makes it a 51-point
so it's
gap.
9 points.
Yeah, so he's 9 points away from the mystical 60-point gap that he needs. I think Hunter Birch.
I think you outscored, yeah. It was 102 before.
Yeah, so we outscored just slightly, I think, Gravel Trap, but because of Rem. Thankfully, Remco finished the race, so he did at least score points down in 14th, even if nowhere near close to the other 2 Gravel Traps, but at least is Hunter Birch 1st and 4th, Gravel Trap sort of 3rd, 7th and 8th.
Right, there's the results.
There we go. So, Loic Mounier wins from Louis Hartley, but a quite dominant performance. Even though it's only 7 seconds, it was about 17 before Mounier decided to showboat at the end. Carl Benton just eclipsed as we see the Hunter Birch cars drifting by Louis Hartley, despite a brilliant drive from all in the top 3, I think it has to be said. Oliver Hargitay, very promising performance in 4th. Best of the medium, the hard tyre runners, from Scott Sovic, who will have the softer race too. Chris Hood takes 6th for Scuderia Mera. His best finish, I think, period, in British Touring Cars, EERC. Chris English 7th after Andy Simmons bailed him out a little bit near the end. Peter Schumann 9th from Pascal Eggert. So Pascal did hold on from Stydniarek in the end, 0.6 between the two. Stydniarek 11th from Louis Hesketh, who recovered to 12th on the soft tyres, I think. Adam Ziola 13th, Remco Dizou 14th, and James Smagersgale 6 laps down, retired, and won't get any points, I believe.
Correct, yeah. You have to be within 2 laps of the leaders to score points.
Yep, so there we go. a pretty solid race one, I think. Especially that Benton Hartley battle was entertaining, but we still had Sovic Hargitay, Chris Hood's rise through the order, and a little bit of action between the gravel traps, Vinavons and SZ Racing near the rear.
Right,
And
so-
that nice move from Louis Hartley as well on Studniar. Louis Hesketh, sorry, on Studniar, even though he did spin away and go into the gravel and lose
but
it.
he's not had much running, so to come in with that little practice and he finished the race, he wasn't lost, so it was quite impressive from him.
Right, so let's remind ourselves who's got the options for race 2. We've got Seifert, who's not here. Valento, who's not here. Louis Hesketh, who is here. Smagsgale, who is here, he can fix the wheel. So Hesketh actually did that on the harder tyres, so that's not bad. That's not a bad performance at all by him. And we got Sovic, who's probably the danger man. Really, everyone else is on the hards and saving their softs for race 3 or getting them out of the way in race 1. So really, I think it's going to be Hesketh, maybe Smagsgale, and definitely Scott Sovic that we got to watch out for. Sovic starting in the top 5. If he can make a good start past Hargitay, could really challenge for victory here. So Moynier's got to hope he can make a break for it before Sovic catches him, really. That's how I see this playing out.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race. With just Sovic on the softs. Race 3, I think, could be a bit of a...
Yeah. Still 20 degrees and sunny at the moment. I don't see any chance of rain. Do you? I don't know how to check for rain.
Varies session to session, so just because it isn't, there's no chance in one race, doesn't mean there's no chance in the next race.
That's
or the
very
next
true.
session.
Here we go. We've got some comments in the chat.
I'm going to set the grid and the ballast. I'll be back in a
Joshua
sec.
Hamilton says, it is that time of the night where I deploy the Louis Hartley fan club. Smagsgale says, this is fun. Didn't look very fun, James, for you anyway. Hamilton says, such a strong defense from Benton, and that the one snack, I don't know who that's supposed to be, says Breaking Bad. So just talking about he's making fun of the Benton outbreaking himself at turn 1 and going in the gravel. So that really shows the amount of pressure that Louis Hartley put on him, that he sustained it for so long and then cracked right on the final lap of the race, which will be frustrating for him and for Gravel Trap. But certainly, as someone who's not fighting for the Drivers' Championship, is fighting for the Team's Championship, I'm not opposed to see Louis Hartley getting through there. But I did give Benton the praise that he was deserved. So when he was doing well. So anyway, I'm very, very interested, like you say, Nick, to see how race 2 pans out. It will be Moynier, basically the finishing order from race 1. So Moynier, then Louis Hartley, Benton 3rd, Hargitay 4th, Sovic the danger man in 5th on the soft tyres. 6th will be Chris Hood, and then 7th will be Chris English. So even if things don't go too well for English, he might be focusing on race 3 at this point, to be honest. But the problem is a lot of the drivers around him have also got the softs for race 3
So I
too.
have it on reliable authority that hard tyres and heavy ballast is an absolute killer.
And bad news for Louis Hartley then.
And Kyle Benton and Loic for this one.
And Chris English. Because English is saving them for race 3, isn't he? I believe so.
Yes, and but he has not got ballast this way. Well, he's only got...
Right, of course, less ballast because he finished badly.
Yeah.
Albeit in 7th rather than 8th where he was going to finish. So Simmons did him a favour in terms of the championship, but not in terms of the ballast for this race.
So I'm thinking for this one, Sovic is favourite.
So with the ballast down these straights, you would think so, but he's still got to get through, hasn't he? I think it's really going to be down to the start if he can make progress without losing too much time.
Yes, he should have a good getaway with the softs though. Right, we should be moving on to the race any second now.
Yeah, we did see a couple of guys struggle a little bit more than they expected. Like we saw, I think Hartley sort of had things made a little bit harder for himself with the soft tyres, didn't he? Because he ended up being stuck behind some of the harder tyre runners and having to pass Benton for the rest of the race.
Yep.
Wow.
That was very good racing between Hartley and Benton, though. Enjoyed that.
So really, it was good opportunism by Benton that got him into that position in the first place, because Hartley did just about out qualifying. I had to watch it back. Maybe he made a better start. I wasn't quite sure exactly what happened in turn one because there was a lot of chaos behind them.
Okay, I'll be moving on in 1 minute to the next race.
Okay, so tension building then. And another driver to probably watch out for could be Louis Hesketh, also on the softs. So he could either go into the gravel again or potentially get into the top 10, I think.
There are the two options, yeah.
Yeah. Right, just giving a word of advice to my drivers, because none of them have the softs for this one, so it's going to be pretty brutal.
It is indeed.
Down the straights, anyway. I can see it's top 5 that get the ballast from in race 2, isn't it? Or is it top 3?
Top 10.
Top 10, okay. There
Top
we go.
10 in each race get the ballast. Race 1 and qualifying is set by championship
Well,
decision.
you've got to think then. Hesketh has got a great chance of getting top 10 because he didn't finish in the top 10, so he's got no ballast. He's got the softs as well. And he starts about 12th, doesn't he?
Yep.
Oh, no. It's about to reset the grid, isn't it? So, yeah, he should start 12th with Smegasgale right at the back. Also on the softs, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the Hyundai does seem... It's the Hyundai and the Infinity. It seems to be a track that suits them pretty well, this one. Overall.
Oh, the grid didn't set.
Ah. I was wondering, why is Louis on pole from Remco? That's a bit bizarre.
Okay, we'll have to... 1 second.
Oh, I'm really Hartley's going to feel very disappointed now.
I've got to do the ballast again. Oh, and lots of people disconnected as well.
Ah, well, there we go. Down to 10 then, and not only Loic survived the disconnection. All the gravel trap drivers still there, I think. Oh no, only 2 of them. So as said, and Finnavon, the only unscathed teams from that. I hope I don't sound too tired in my commentary, by the way, because yesterday I went with a friend of mine to see Avatar 2. Yeah, the sequel, 13 years in the making. It was a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And it's in, I think, 60 frames per second the way they've shot it as well. And it's so it was pretty I don't think it was a terrible movie. I had a lot of kind of takes of Avatar 2 is like just boring. It's just the first one but longer, and I actually kind of liked it, personally. But I thought there was the weird thing about Avatar is that it's not a series that's big on world building for some reason, because even though it's set on an alien planet that humans are trying to mine for resources or whatever, there's not like a big history of the planet and who's tried to colonize and mine it or whatever. It's literally just it's literally only it exists to serve just a few characters that are in the story. But the only thing I would say is that Jake Sully, the main character, he has way too many kids because I couldn't remember a single one of their names. There's things about the movie that are weird, but in terms of like the little family dynamic, I kind of like that. But it's weird as well to me that there's a lot of like toys coming out. Like Lego are doing a whole Avatar 2 line, which I think is half toys from the first movie and half toys from this movie as well. And it's really weird because a lot of the movie is set with like water things. So aside from like giant whales and water creatures and stuff. Oh, the other weird thing about the movie is Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords is in it in a very weird miscast role. There's like a marine biologist. Which is very weird because he plays these. He's usually, if he's acting, he plays these wacky characters. Like I think Men in Black 3 had him as the villain, as a villain called Boris the Animal.
Boris
and that
the
worked
Animal.
quite well. That was it, yeah. And if he gets to, but it's weird also. They had him try. He's from New Zealand, so he's clearly got a Kiwi accent. And the other characters in his group, his boss is a guy that's trying to basically kill whales so they can extract whale brain juice because it makes humans immortal, apparently. It's a weird plot point that comes out of nowhere. And Jermaine Clement's character, the marine biologist, is sort of like, I don't approve. And he's like, oh, you know this is wrong. Why do you support it? It's like, well, I just drink, basically, is what he says. He says I don't like it, and that's why I drink. Or something like that. And that's the extent of his resistance to the whale brain extraction operation that he's part of. It's very weird as well. There's all sorts of, I think the villain from the first movies also comes back because he's resurrected in an avatar body because they have a backup from before the final battle of the first movie that he sort of makes sort of like just in case, assuming he will win. And that's a hilarious idea. And he's still like as cheesy as he is in the first movie, but he's like having to basically pretend and blend in as on the avatars, and he finds it really weird, which I found kind of hilarious. Like Colonel Quaritch, whatever his name is, played by Stephen Lane, and he's the guy, and he still gives like the same speeches that he gives from the first movie, but he's kind of like awkward and weird because he died, and it's sort of like, well, this planet, you died the first time, so how is this supposed to work? And it takes away a lot of the stakes as well, because it's just like, well, if he dies again, if Jake Sully kills him again, then they can just make another Colonel from like from Avatar Goo in just a satellite, and it's like bring him down, and it's like I have to get revenge again. It feels like they're sort of creating their own problems to an extent. But anyway, as I say, as if you focus on it more of a kind of basic character piece rather than a kind of epic kind of Game of Thrones huge family tree sort of history of this world and whatever, then I think it works a lot better. But yeah, 3 hours. The action's fun, and there's some really pretty stuff like under the water as well, of all the different sea creatures and sea life, especially during the night scenes as well. They got the lighting down really well. But 3 hours, man. Anyway, I'm filling here because I'm waiting for the grid to pop back up. No, tell us more about Avatar 2.
Well, yeah, this R-Factor update has broken the game for quite a lot of people.
Yeah. No comments in the chat, so I assume everyone is really invested in my opinions on Avatar 2. Because it's interesting. There's a channel that I found on YouTube. I think it's called is it called Local or something like that? Yeah, he made a video called Avatar is Good and I Will Die on That Hill. Yeah, Local, that's his name, his handle on YouTube. And he made a video about the original Avatar, and he made one about the sequel as well, and he's sort of suggesting that there's a load of lazy complaints, oh, it's just blue Pocahontas in space or something, and he says that that's a really kind of reductive, and that if you sort of just view it as a movie and not as a sort of Native American kind of metaphor or whatever, then it's actually okay, and that he kind of likes it, and it's sort of like really annoyed that people dismiss it very easily. Even people who haven't watched the movie will just say, oh, it's probably bad, and it's 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. But I know I had a good time, so I can sort of see where Local is coming from.
Hopefully,
and he has a lot of other videos where he gives like screenwriting advice and stuff.
We're just waiting for poor old Scott Sovic, who's having some game issues.
Again, Sovic. Well, I mean, he's the one on the soft tire, so it makes sense that he really, really needs to get back in the race, doesn't he? Oh, as Louis Hartley pushes off track, gets a little bit of extra practice in. Let's see how things are going.
Yeah, a bit of a delay. We can thank the developers again. They've been a bit of a curse this season, really, with the push to pass. We had the engines frying themselves. That was a fun one.
Indeed, we've had a lot of change this season, haven't we? Yeah, Bathurst strikes me as a fun race for that, where we saw Benton, after having a really, really good first half of the race, just his engine blew up down the hill, and I started having
they removed the downshift protection without telling anyone, so everyone was rattling down the gears.
Same issue, yeah, exactly. And when everyone saw Benton blow up in race 2, I think it was, everyone started being a bit more careful.
Yes.
And I think wasn't there also like a thing where some people were trying to pit and the car, somebody blew up in front of them or something. I think it was Pascal trying to negotiate Carl Benton, wasn't it? And yeah, we had some good races. It's a shame in a way that Kings left, because I think they probably, it would have been fascinating to see where they would have been in relation to Gravel Trap, and had they stayed in.
And that was mostly due to all the
but it was mostly the
game errors that they left. Yeah,
it was mostly the update that sort of, and also their availability as well of half their drivers.
Yeah,
like Jack Nichols, for instance.
But it's a
It's
shame.
good to have him in the championship while it lasted.
Yeah, it was,
and
yeah.
who knows? Maybe if we do, maybe for more of maybe we get Jack Nicholls in our Formula E championship. That would be entertaining.
That would be entertaining.
I know Luke Mitchell has expressed some interest in driving for us at Hunter Birch because he did Hong Kong with us and did rather well, I thought, in the end.
Yeah,
Especially because, with all due respect to
going
Tom
on here?
Dillon, Miss Hartley's got bored, I think, of waiting for the race to start and decided to go exploring with one of the Marrera cars. I think that must be... Oh, is it... It's Chris Hood.
Yeah.
No, not... Yeah, it's either Chris Hood or Smaggers Gale or Hesketh.
This is what happens when sim races get bored.
Hartley, who could well sew up the championship in the next couple of races' time, whenever they take place. As we wait for Sovic to rejoin the server, but
well, hopefully
he could be on his way to a first ever driver's title in EERC, which would be a big deal for him. Because remember, before this season, he hadn't even won a race. Louis Hartley, he'd come close a few times, admittedly.
that Imola springs to mind.
Yeah, that was one he nearly won, wasn't it? And there was that great battle with, was it himself, Mia Rose, Peter Schumann, who did win that one in the end, and who else was it? I think it was just those three, wasn't it?
Mia, Louis, and Peter.
Peter who won.
Yeah, Peter won. Yeah.
Because the others all messed up, essentially.
Feels like such a long time ago.
It was a while ago, yeah.
But yeah, hopefully next
it's
season.
Great to have, by the way, great to have Mia back. She's in Hypercar cast with Queen's Design Esports.
With April Carlsvard, I think that's
it was April, yeah. So a lot of people saying that I haven't seen April race, so I'm sort of hoping that she'll do quite well. At least, if not for her sake, for me it is as well. Then
I think I raced with her many years ago.
Okay.
Many years ago.
I've been thinking because Queen's Esport have a sort of donation thing that I might pay like £20, $20 or whatever it is on Australian to English money to get Hunter Birch logo on that car. But I'm already in a partnership with Reading Game.
I don't know what's
Tom
going
Dillon,
on in front of us at the moment.
Oh, and that's somebody being lifted up by Louis Hartley. That's number 6, which is Loic, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh dear. I'm sorry. Oh, and that looks like a 97, which is Pascal Eggert. Usually so well behaved is our Pascal. He says not at all ironically. Oh, and now they're coming in again. They're trying to get him over the barrier. Louis Hartley's stream must be quite fun to watch at the moment.
Yeah.
Josh Hamilton says, love some tomfoolery. Okay. Maybe we should get Josh in while we're waiting and just have him, just so I've got someone else to talk to, apart from you setting everything up.
Oh, no, he's upside down.
Ah, there we go.
Scott Sovic has dropped out, so we can move
fair
on.
enough.
Okay, let's have a race, shall we?
Yeah, of course. So, Scott Sovic out. That means, I guess, from process of elimination, that Louis Hesketh is now favourite to win this race on the
somehow, yeah.
Despite starting down in 12th on the grid, I believe. There he is. Him and Smaggersgale. So expect Hesketh and Smaggersgale to claw their way through the field and everyone else to struggle with ballast. So this is where we're really going to see the experience kick in, aren't we? Smaggersgale says, I got disqualified for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Hamilton says, I have a cold, so it'd be awful to listen to me. I know the feeling, but I've commentated with a cold, and people haven't, even on you, Josh, and people haven't complained. That Formula E race I did in Hong Kong, where Josh won the championship, I had a cold for. Not just because Josh beat my driver and won, by the way, that was incidental. Anyway, the grid now being set up then. So it is Loic Moynier, Louis Hartley, except Moynier hasn't shown up yet, then Carl Benton, Oliver Hargitay, who also hasn't shown up yet, Chris Hood, Chris English, Andy Simmons, Peter Schumann, Pascal Eggert, Igor Stydniarek, Louis Hesketh, Adam Ziola, Remco Diziu, and James Smaggersgale are your 14 drivers that will take part. So unfortunately, no Scott Sovic, which is a big shame for him. I think he probably would have fancied his chance if it wasn't for those technical issues. But now, the grid almost complete with just, I think, Hesketh is joining out. Off we go then. Race 2 about to get away in Autopolis. Who's going to make the best start? It's Moynier with Hartley alongside. And look at him rocket away again. And Hargitay is trying to go through the middle as we're 5 wide in the middle of the pack. Into turn 1 we go then. And it looks like Carl Benton, is going to have a go at Louis Hartley. But they all slot into position. The top 4 as they were. Simmons is now holding off Studniarek.
Oh dear, Hesketh.
Oh, and again, Louis Hesketh on the soft tyres makes a bit of a meal of things. So it's Smagersgale in 12th, the highest placed soft tyre runner. And I actually think Loic Moynier could run away with this one again if Louis Hartley doesn't get a move on here. But, and that's Remco de Zeeuw into the wall and in trouble there. So hopefully Remco can get to the end here as up the inside goes Louis Hesketh on Studniarek. So Studniarek on the hard tyres added a bit of a disadvantage there.
So this is actually advantage to Loic because now there's no one quick or close to him
be a threat.
on the soft tyres.
That's very true, but everyone behind is on the hard, so it's basically a kind of a hard tyre race, effectively, beyond a Smagersgale, who is ahead of Hesketh at the moment, I think, by 1.5 seconds, and now attacking Ziola as the pack all very closely bunched together, but behind Simon, I think behind Benton in the top 3, there's a bit of a gap. Hargitay again, and now challenging Simmons again. I think this is a rerun of race 1, isn't it?
A little
with
bit.
Those two.
But now
he had to get through. And now look at that on the Morera cars. That's Chris Hood, who I believe is on the hard. Oh, and he gets hit in the side. Is that English who hits him?
It is.
And that's Pascal with nowhere to go, isn't it? So poor Eggert there. Now loses position to Schoenemann, but gets going again. But that was really unlucky there. And I think Chris English could find himself in trouble there for barging into the side of Chris Hood. But overall, no harm done, you have to say. Not too much harm anyway, but apart from to Pascal Eggert. But there we go. 0.9, the gap that Loic Moynier has over Louis Hartley.
Who is he locks up?
Oh, and that's going to be deep into turn 1. That could be an opportunity for Louis Hartley down the straight here. So watch out. Loic gets a little bit too cocky on the brakes there, trying to pull away. And now Hartley is all over the back of him. Is he going to try and go up the inside into the 3-4-5 complex? Locks up again. And Hartley is still there. He's going to force his way through on the inside. But it's Moynier with the inside going into the hairpin here. Oh, gets a little twitch on. And they all run very, very close together. Almost backs Hartley into Benton again. So a gravel trap looking a little bit stronger in race 2 here, despite not having the better tyres. Oh, heart and mouth moment there for Loic Moynier, and so nearly lost the lead. Good thing there's no tyre wear either, because that lockup would have been much more costly.
Yeah, you'd have square tyres about now.
Yeah, and Hargitay is right behind
he's done it again.
Oh, and that's a very careless mistake. Down roller coaster straight they go. That's a terrible exit, and that is going to give the lead to Louis Hartley, the championship leader, looking potentially to sew it up.
Oh, he's Hartley's wide.
Oh, and Hartley goes into the gravel, and that can hand it back to Loic Moynier. Moynier up the inside. Hartley still got the wheel alongside. Now Benton fancies getting involved. But Louis Hartley cuts to the outside and then to the inside to hold him off there. And into the side he goes. I think Benton's done it, though. If he can just hold on here through this complex. And side by side they go wheel banging all the way. And now Simmons getting involved, too. He's going to demote Louis Hartley.
Oh, they're both through.
So it's all gone immediately wrong for Louis Hartley, and now he is at the mercy of Oliver Hargitay too.
That was hard, but fair, I'd say.
Oh, there we go. So gravel trap now, desperately trying to hold on to 2 podium positions here to fight back against Thunderbird Simulation. They go side by side there to create a wall that Louis Hartley cannot go through. Hargitay on his coattails as well. So Louis Hartley in a difficult position here. He dives up the inside, goes to Oliver Hargitay. Oh my goodness me. And that's one of the gravel traps in the gravel. I think that was Simmons there. So alongside goes Carl Benton and Simmons. Oh, and here comes Louis Hartley again.
No, that's not going to end well.
This is really fantastic racing between these 4 drivers. It's still there. Still on the outside comes Louis Hartley. And he will have, I think, the inside here for the hairpin on Andy Simmons. Simmons now being attacked by Hargitay. And Hargitay, doesn't get a great exit. Here comes Chris Hood. Oh, and Chris
English
just held up, and English takes advantage again, having a battle with Chris Hood, and that's an opportunistic move from Chris English there. So gravel trap really gaining places in this race. 2nd, 4th, and 6th at the moment, and they're going to swap positions. And that's a big hit for Louis Hartley, and that's going to let Hargitay through. Oh, and Hargitay hits as well. There was no way through there.
I couldn't really work out what happened there. I think someone got caught up on the brakes, but I couldn't work out who. Too much going on.
I feel like it was Simmons or Benton just didn't quite leave enough room for Oliver Hargitay. Didn't see him in time, and Hargitay, the big loser there, down to 9th he goes. And that's a big shame. He's got so much work to do now. And look at the gravel being flown up behind them. But Gravel Trap somehow hold on to that 2 and 3. And now Chris English up to 5th then. But this has allowed Moynier to break a break for it. 3.5 seconds up ahead of everyone else. And everyone really... there's no holds barred here in race 2. Like we predicted chaos, didn't we? I don't think we quite predicted this much chaos. As here we go, Hargitay almost off the track there, trying to get back in front of Pascal Eggert for 8th position.
Especially considering everyone's on the same tyres. This is carnage.
Yeah, Hargitay's almost into the clutches of Hesketh now, who's the first of the soft tyre runners, and hoping to follow him through here as Pascal goes a bit wide, and up the inside goes Louis Hesketh. He's a former Hunter Birch driver now, overtaking the new Hunter Birch driver of Hargitay. Here we go. So good opportunism there as we see, things getting chaotic, and that's Hartley trying to go up the inside again of Andy Simmons, and Simmons, he's going to have to let Chris English through again. He almost spins Louis Hartley out, and Chris English almost spins out on his own there into Chris Hood, and that's Simmons. Now he's got Hartley ahead of him. So this is just chaotic everywhere you look, really. And Diziu is challenging Adam Ziola for 12th near the rear of the field. So there's a big gap between Ziola and Smagersgale. There's Hargitay.
Hesketh is on Eggert.
So Hesketh finally starting to make progress with all the collisions in front of him. And Hesketh is going to try round the outside of the hairpin. He's going to run out of space here. That could play to the advantage of Oliver Hargitay. Look how close they are. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. All bunched together, really, aren't they? There were 10 minutes remaining.
As through goes Hesketh.
And that's Hesketh through on Pascal Eggert. And that's going to allow Hargitay on Eggert as well. Up the inside he goes. Hargitay, has he quite got the overlap here? I think Pascal might hold it around the outside here. And indeed he does so. Over the curb he goes. And another chance gone then for Hargitay, who's just been bullied out in this race, it must be said. But it's 1 point ahead of Louis Hartley, so that is turning into a rerun, isn't it, of race 1?
Oh, someone's off. Is that Hood?
I think it might have been. Chris Hood drops back from Chris English, and now he has got Peter Schoenemann challenging from 7th position. And, is that finally Hargitay getting through?
It is, yeah.
On Pascal Eggert. So that frees him to follow. I guess he's
gone wide.
Oh, no, he goes wide. Oh, dear. A careless mistake there from Hargitay. Just got too deep on the brakes. And is that going to be Smagersgale coming through as well?
As Simmons is back through on Hartley.
And a mistake from Hartley. So Gravel Trap holding well here in the top 5. And Hartley, crucial error, puts him into the range of Chris English, who nearly gets spun again.
Well, was someone off at the back?
Hairpin.
Was it Smagersgale? Yeah, Smagersgale.
And that's Smagersgale off. And up the inside of Peter Schoenemann goes Chris Hood. So that's Hood fighting back against Schoenemann, who was all over the back of him now. And this is allowing Hesketh to get involved. Hesketh on the soft tyres will have a lot more grip at his disposal, but can he get the track position he needs in this race? 8 minutes left to go.
He could get a podium, Hesketh.
It depends how this works out. He needs to make sure he doesn't take anybody out or get taken out. And look at them swerving for position as they approach turn 11. And Hesketh gets pushed out to the outside by Peter Schoenemann, who is now about to attack Chris Hood. And here we go, the Morera cars working together. Hesketh round the outside.
It hasn't worked.
But that was a little bit too ambitious. And he bumps into the rear wheel and loses it completely. And that's Louis Hesketh into the gravel.
Yeah, well, it didn't lose Peter much time.
Well, there goes the chance of a podium then.
Indeed, yeah.
I thought you were being a bit generous to him there.
Well, he could have, but...
Well, he had to try something, didn't he? And in the end, Peter Schoenemann wasn't as cooperative as he would have hoped. So this puts Oliver Hargitay back into the top 8 then. But look at this. Hartley is not done with Carl Benton yet. Now he's cleared Simmons. He fancies a go at getting back through. The temperature getting back under control then, I think, in those tyres. But the gap, 4.3 seconds between Benton and Moynier. So Moynier, after being challenged by Hartley over early on, has just checked out here. And, a little bit wide from Simmons, who has gotten back in front of Hartley somehow down the straight. And now Chris English, who has cleared Chris Hood, is still going to be a threat here. So I reckon Simmons might back Hartley into Chris English.
I think that's
here.
exactly what he's doing.
Look at this big gap now between Benton and Simmons, 2 seconds compared to what it was earlier on. So this is tactical driving from Gravel Trap to maximize their chances in the Drivers' Championship. Benton also still in contention, let's not forget, after his strong finish on the podium as well. So he's closed the gap to English and to but not quite to Hartley. Oh, that's into the wall. Big hit for Remco Diziu, who was 12th. So that could be a terminal damage for him.
Yeah, he's retired.
And that's bad news because that's going to keep him out of contention for race 3 and the reverse grid, is it? If there's only 14 drivers, yes, so that's a big shame for him. So just a horrible time for Remco, and he said before the race he wasn't feeling it, that it's probably a good idea to replace him, and I think he's showing sort of maybe that was a good idea. But anyway, it's too late now.
Hartley.
Up the inside goes Louis Hartley, back past Andy Simmons then. So the delaying tactics have not worked for Gravel Trap.
Not a fan of the new cameras. It takes too long to pan round. We're missing stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. It does look a bit more natural sometimes than the abrupt cuts you sometimes get with the auto director. I guess it's with the auto director in mind, isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, this battle continues then. And, is that Chris Hood about to be overtaken by Peter Schumann? Up the inside, through the S's.
It's panning. There we go.
Hold on a second. Through the final corner they go. And Peter's got a good run here. Moynier sets another fastest lap of the race. But bad news for Hunter Birch Simulation because I think Gravel Trap are about to score big here. And Hunter Birch are basically gonna win, but with 2nd, 4th and 5th looking the way of Gravel Trap at the moment. Unless Oliver Hargitay can do something about it. But, or if there's a penalty for Simmons or Benton for knocking him out of the way. But that's a bit wishful thinking on my part.
Didn't really see what happened there, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, we did see it on stream. I think it was literally, there was just nowhere to go for poor. It might probably be judged as a racing incident, but we'll protest it anyway and see what happens. Because that's the British touring car way, I guess.
And the Formula 1 way. If you know, that car looks nice, let's protest it.
Just for no reason, yeah. Anyway, I guess with pre-season, that's all the rage of all the car updates. And anyway, Moynier, fastest lap of the race was last time around was 1:51.8, so that really shows how much slower he is on the harder tyres, isn't he? He was saying 47.7s.
And with 75 kilos.
That's very true. So a very impressive drive by Moynier. And it will help limit the wounds in the team's championship.
Hesketh.
Oh, another mistake from Hesketh then, but he's quite way ahead of 3 seconds ahead of Ziola. So not too much threat from behind, but Hesketh pushing, I think, too hard to make up ground. And I think the same goes for Smagascale down in 12th as well on the softs. So neither of them have really taken advantage. They had some good boost, but neither of them have really taken full advantage, have they, of the softs in this race. And Benton now got a little bit of a gap with 4 minutes to go. He doesn't want the same thing to happen to him again. He wants to hold on to that 2nd position to keep his Drivers' Championship hopes alive. And also, I guess if Hartley gets through, then he's got to let Simmons and English through as well, or at least English. They both got to conspire to let English through. I think Simmons might be getting a call to let English through again in a second.
I mean, Benton won't actually be that far behind English after this race.
That's very true.
He outscored him by about 7 points last time round. I think he's only about 15 points behind him.
Yeah, I think Gravel Trap might have to... they can't put all their eggs in one basket anymore, can they?
I think Benton might be mathematically out of contention after this one, though.
Ah, that's true. He was about 60 points behind going in.
Yeah.
Well, just under that. Oh, no, it would be more because Hartley extended his advantage, didn't he? Becoming 2nd. So there we go. And he's not making too many inroads. He's still holding off Simmons, I think, behind. So Simmons is pushing a lot to sort of just keep up with Louis Hartley. And Chris English is just struggling, I think, from a relative lack of practice compared to his teammates. Here is Chris Hood right behind him. And Chris Hood fancies a go. Here we go. Maximum pressure then for Chris English, struggling to keep his title hopes alive then. 51 points the gap in the championship at the moment. And we've still got race 3 to go, of course, but it's looking very, very difficult for Chris English right now. And Chris Hood has really got to pick his moment here because he's not had the easiest run to another top 6, though.
I think Hesketh's had another excursion. Oh, he's retired.
Oh, dear. So that's bad news for the Scuderia Marrero team. Shame Diziu crashed out so heavily because I thought, he would have gotten at least the top 12 now. But anyway, Peter Schumann fighting with Hargitay as well.
Oh dear.
as they fight with English, and it's Schumann off, so that's another place for Hargitay, top 7 then. So Oliver Hargitay could now challenge, because Hood is through past English, so English could be in a world of pain in a second if the Hunter Birch can get through him as well.
English is having an absolute nightmare of a race.
Yeah, oh, look at that, really pushing it is Hargitay, nearly spins out there. But if Hargitay can get through into past Chris English, it keeps the team's championship alive, I think, really, realistically. Hartley sets the personal best lap of the race, 1:52.7, but only 0.8 behind Benton. He isn't quite close enough for a lunge, as Hood dips a wheel off track, but doesn't lose too much ground. And Hood has been really, really impressive of late, it must be said. And I think a top 5 finish would be richly deserved for the British driver. A minute to go, and Hood could even challenge Simmons before this is over.
I think he could.
Yeah, Simmons starting to really struggle now.
Benton
Mr. Hartley's broken away from him.
Mr. Hartley are pretty close as well.
Yeah, it's down to 0.3 then, so Hartley could well do a lunge.
I don't know if this is the last lap. It's going to be quite
Depends
close.
on Loic Moynier. Just under a minute to go, and he is just coming out of the hairpin, I think. But, wow, we've certainly seen some action and incidents and accidents. But, pretty quiet now at the end of the race. It's really just a tense battle for survival now. And Louis Hartley, if he can finish on the podium here, and it looks like he's going to, he'll have one hand on that championship, won't he? Carl Benton is not really a threat anymore. It's only Chris English he's got to deal with, who will be over 60 points behind. So he'll have to recover that in race 3 if he can to mathematically keep the points alive in the drivers. We'll have to work out what the teams is afterwards, because I think it's a bit too complicated.
I think so far it's pretty even Stevens, as we are going to have another lap, I believe.
Here we go then, Hartley. Another last-ditch attempt to pass Benton on the final lap with Moynier in the leader. I've seen this one before.
As was that Hood pitting?
Oh, so an issue for Hood. Is he perhaps put the wrong tyres on or run out of fuel? That's bitter disappointment for him. He was so close to a top 5 finish, but that plays into the hands of English and Hargitay, who's right behind English actually still.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened there.
He's having to pit, maybe a penalty for something. Here we go. Hartley, a last-ditch effort then to take second place from Benton. Gets really close.
English is
in
past
the rear.
Simmons.
Oh, and that's Hargitay getting involved as well. So English is being let through, and Simmons has got to cut back to the racing line before Hargitay slips across. This is very risky from Gravel Trap in terms of the team's championship. They can't afford to let Oliver Hargitay take points off of them. I hope they do, though. But and Carl Benton still holding the middle of the track. Only a few corners to go. We're on the final lap of the race. Loic Moynier is just about to approach Sector 3. And here comes Hartley. He's challenging around the outside, but he's left with nowhere to go because Carl Benton, he's like, fool me once, shame on, fool me once is bad, but fool me twice, I don't let that happen. And here we go, Hargitay side by side with Andy Simmons, I believe. Into turn 11, and Hargitay sweeps around the outside, and he's just about going to be able to get back in front. So there we go. Oliver Hargitay recovers into the top 5, and now will harry Chris English to the line. But it's Loic
English
Moynier.
is off.
Oh, a mistake from English. And that's Pascal Eggert going off now too. What is going on? It's gone completely insane on this final lap of the race. But Moynier is about to cross the line. 9.7 seconds ahead. What a fabulous drive again from Loic Moynier. It doesn't matter what tyres you put him on. They all squabble behind. Carl Benton is going to just hold off Louis Hartley for second position. And we wait now to see if Louis Hartley is going to cross the line as champion. I think Chris English needs to finish 8th or lower for that to happen. Hargitay will finish 4th. So brilliant recovery from Oliver Hargitay after the difficulty he had there. Andy Simmons will place 5th. Peter Schumann 6th. Chris English 7th. So really, you've got to say Gravel Trap trying to gift positions to Chris English has backfired completely, hasn't it?
I have no idea what happened there.
Oh, dear. So absolute chaos then on the final lap of race 2. So Louis Hartley 3rd, Chris English 7th. The gap was 51 points, wasn't it?
So it needed a 9-point swing.
Well, but there's still one more race to go. 60 points for the last 3 races in Alton, not Alton Park, Croft.
So hang on, if 7th, so it was another What's that?
15 points for...
So 6 points gain for Hartley.
So the gap now is, would it be 50?
3 points, yeah.
Well, it was 51 after race 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, so 6. He's just got on English,
57.
so he needs 3 more.
Yeah, 57 points then. So if he can gain 3 more points on him in race 3, then that's Drivers' Championship over. So it's really it's a matter of when rather than if for Louis Hartley at the moment. But let's look at the result of this race. A third win then for Luke Mooney, second in a row. So he's on a flyer at the moment. And way faster than anyone else. I wouldn't bet against Lloyd getting another podium in race 3 here. Carl Benton, second place. This time was able to hold off Louis Hartley, but his championship hopes are over. Really, to be honest, Oliver Hargitay places 4th to keep Hunter Birch's title, drivers' championship hopes just about alive. Team's championship hopes, rather. Andy Simmons places 5th for Gravel Trap after really mismanaging the end. I think he could have beaten Hargitay if he wasn't trying to let English through. Peter Schumann 6th for Finnevon. Chris English down in 7th in the end. Just ahead of Pascal Eggert. Smaggersgale 9th on the soft. So Smaggersgale really... He survived into the top 10, but he didn't make the progress I think he would have hoped for. Ziola is 10th to round out the top 10. Then it is Chris Hood having to pit on the final lap of the race, and Studniarek also retiring, I think, near the end as well. Oh no, Hood made a pit stop and came out ahead of Studniarek. They both completed the final lap. Then Hesketh, who had some issues a couple of laps from home, and Remco de Zeeuw, who's classified as not finished after having crashed out.
Right, let's have the wheel. We got to move quickly.
Yeah, sorry about that if I took a while.
No, it's fine.
Here we go.
So that's a full grid. So that's Studniarek pole.
14th. That's a shame. But anyway, so Studniarek, 12th and final finisher, will start from pole position. I don't think Louis Hartley quite did enough of the race. How far behind was he in the end? I think he was... I think he pit with like 2 or 3 laps to go, didn't he? So... Hard to say, really, if he was. I think he didn't finish enough to be classified for the draw, really. I'm pretty sure you have to be officially classified.
Yeah, you have to finish the race.
Yeah. Okay. So Studniarek on pole then, from Hood, Ziola, Smaggersgale, and Eggert. So let's see what the tyre choice is then. Who's got the softs for race? Studniarek has got the softs. So this is Studniarek's best chance to win since Nutstorp.
Yep.
Which he was penalised from victory there because he spun people out, basically, including one of my drivers. Remco de Zeeuw, who starts at the back because he retired. Chris English and Adam Ziola. Oliver Hargitay and Andy Simmons. Peter Schumann and Pascal Eggert. And Mario Valencia. So, yeah, Pascal, top 5. Studniarek, pole position. Both of them might fancy their chances of winning or getting on the podium here on the softs.
All right, we're waiting for R Factor. Okay. Right, 1 second. Okay.
Right, I'm supposed to say things, aren't I, as a commentator? I was busy communicating with my drivers. But anyway, we wait for the final race then to be set up.
It won't be too long.
I said that Loic is on fire at the moment, and 10, Lewis said, not great, he's on fire, then he won't be able to drive anymore for too long. Wow. I think it wasn't for Loic. I think Teams Championship would be over at the moment. So I'd have to figure out what the gap is, because I think it got closed in race 1 and then opened up again because Gravel Trap got, I think, overall more points. With although I'm not sure, because let me figure it out. I'd have to figure it out. Points you get for 4th relative to, you get 13 points for 4th. They finished 5th and 7th, which is 20 points. And then got 3 points from winning and beating Benton. So yes, I think they gained about 4 points on us in race 2, but we gained a few more points on them in race 1. So I think it's looking, if we don't score well in race 3, then it's basically over, because we needed to have about, what was it, 60-point gap to keep it mathematically alive, I think?
For
Teams Championship,
teams,
I forget.
it's 156 points per weekend.
Okay, so we're in 156. So we're still mathematically in it, but it's looking, I would hope to be a bit closer, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But within about 70, 60 points is sort of what I was aiming for, but we are about 100 going in. We gained, I think, about 20 in race 1, then lost 4 in race 2 there. That really shows, even if your third driver's not doing well, if they can at least finish and bank a few points, it can make a difference. Because 12 was worth 4 points. So, but I guess Remco, there was no way to continue with the car that badly damaged in the wall. Mm-hmm. And maybe it wouldn't have even been fun either way, but he's really not enjoying this. I think he's sort of, that's why he complained to me, and I was sort of like trying to
it's raining.
Like, hey, maybe we should, so rain on track then. Raining 5%.
Right, let me get everything back together.
Right, so is anyone going to go for the wet tyres? That will be interesting. That really throws the tyre choice out the window. If it rains any
will
harder.
Have the advantage.
Yeah, so all the people saving their softs. Here we go, off we go. And it is Stydniarek leading Ziola with Chris Hood making a really bad getaway. And it's chaos behind as they all bunch up into turn 1. The rain is falling quite hard now, 5% at the moment. But it looks very, very heavy as that's Ziola goes really wide and Hood goes back into second and now going for the lead on Igor Stydniarek. So I got completely caught out by the start there, having waited so long. And Hood takes the lead into turn 3 from the 2 SZ Racing cars. Pascal Eggert now getting involved up the inside of Adam Ziola. Somebody in the wall there. It's one of the Finn of Ons.
Schoenemann, I think.
That was Schoenemann. But Hartley is quite low down the order as well. I think it might have actually been Hartley. Oh no, it is Schoenemann. Yeah. Sorry.
Hartley's had his own issues.
Really update. So does Hood, leading Eggert now. Is past Stydniarek at the hairpin. Then it's Remco de Zieu 4th, Adam Ziola 5th, Chris English 6th, Loic Mounier 7th, and Chris English gets past Ziola and up into 5th position. And here we go. It's all getting very hectic as English now trying to go for Remco de Zieu, who has been struggling even more than him as Eggert takes the lead. And up the inside goes Chris English into hairpin number 2. But that is important for Pascal Eggert then to pull clear of Chris Hood. Stydniarek is still in contention here from pole. And we've got Chris English really fighting through. He loves these wet conditions, seems to thrive in them, and desperately needs to recover after a pretty miserable end to race 2. And here we go. This looks like Andy Simmons now going fast. Remco de Zieu, who's dropping like a stone down the order. Now he's got his teammate behind. Remco needs to be careful here. It's getting hectic up in front. And Stydniarek being spun around there. And that's all 3 of them in the gravel. That's Hood, Stydniarek, and that was Simmons,
English.
I think. English, sorry. It was English who got caught in that as well. So horrible luck for Chris English. And he emerges just in front of Peter Schoenemann.
That's his... So at the minute, Hartley would be champion.
Absolutely. So this is going Hartley's way. He passes Remco de Zieu for 4th position. Oliver Hargitay is now up to 3rd and 0.8 behind Andy Simmons. But Pascal Eggert leads by just under 3 seconds then as the rain continuing to fall. Will anyone pick for wet tyres?
I think it's too early.
I'm surprised no one has. It looks very heavy on screen, but it's still only 5%. It says 5%, 0% to 5% max at the moment. So this could just be a shower. but it might get heavier. As look how much they're struggling for grip out there. Hargitay doing well in third at the moment to keep Andy Simmons in sight. But this has sort of been very mixed for Gravel Trap, hasn't it? With English in trouble and everyone else struggling to stay in the race. Remco Dizu just passed by Adam Ziola for 5th position now, up ahead. And we see him really struggling. And now that looks like Loic Moynier being attacked by Benton as well. And Benton on the inside here is Moynier. Oh, goes off track. And that's the SZ car of Ziola making a big mistake and slowing to a crawl. And look at this, free into the hairpin.
Ooh, who's that?
Oh, and that's Remco locking up and going up. That's what he did in race 2, isn't it? And he slides off uselessly into the gravel and returns to the track. I say uselessly, but in terms of once you're at that stage, it's nothing you can do can make much of a difference. If I were Remco, I'd pit for wets pretty soon because this rain doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Chris English, has got Benton and Hartley side by side ahead of him, is it? No, that's Benton and Schoenemann.
Oh, and then Remco's Benton.
And Benton spins out of the back of Schoenemann. Another driver tries to overtake Schoenemann. That was what happened to Hesketh, wasn't it, in race 2? So a big shame there for Simmons.
English already up to 6th, though.
That's true. This is going to continue to be chaotic as race 3s tend to. But it is Pascal Eggert leading Hargitay by 3 seconds. Hargitay's passed Simmons. Sorry, it was Benton that got spun around there.
Hargitay pits.
Oh, Hargitay pits, and that could be for wet tyres. And it's off track. Goes, who was that?
Ziola, I think.
That was, I looked like Ziola going off track again then at the final corner.
Hit the wet grass.
Oh dear, so it's getting very, very treacherous out there. And this decision from Oliver Hargitay to pit, and who else is pitting? Schoenemann is pitting. Somebody else is pitting as well. I think it's Schoenemann, Benton, and Hargitay. But Hargitay was in first from 2nd position. Everyone else deciding to stay out and wait for the rain to get heavier. This is Alton Park race 2 again, isn't it? So Pascal Eggert leads Simmons by 3 seconds. Louis Hartley is now 3rd, about 2.8 behind Simmons. Moynier is 0.4 behind Hartley. Chris English is 0.7 behind Loic Moynier. So English still in it with Hartley in terms of the battle for
Hartley's struggling.
Whoa, Hartley makes a mistake, and that lets Loic Moynier up onto the podium, and Chris English in the gravel.
It's definitely getting treacherous out there.
Yeah, I think those who pit have made a very, very shrewd move. Let's see who has come out then, in which order then. So, where is Oliver Hargitay? Down in 14th, he had a very slow pit stop. Smagsgale having Benton 12th.
So is it Schoenemann who's the first on the wets?
Schoenemann 9th for the moment. So Schoenemann, the Rainmaster, has been able to get out of the pits first. Oh, and that's 11th place. That's spinning in 11th place.
Hood's
that looks like
out.
Oh, big mistake from Hood as Hartley goes off again. Really struggling. And that's Hood, so English, sorry, right behind. So we've got the 2 title protagonists fighting for 4th position in this race. Andy Simmons is ahead of Pascal Eggert, so Pascal has made a mistake.
Yep.
So Andy Simmons leads. Could he take his 2nd win of the season? Oh, Pascal goes wide. So Pascal's really struggling now. And now here comes Loic Moynier.
Yeah, I think it's definitely wet weather tyres.
Yeah, 40% it's saying at the moment, 0 to 40%. So Hargitay's passed the 2 Scuderia Marrera cars and is now closing on Benton, who also pit. Here we go. Moynier slides almost into the back as into the pits comes. That looks like Hartley and English.
Ooh, the bollards didn't make it.
So who's that? Is that Hartley and
Hartley hitting
Simmons?
The wall hard.
Sorry, that's Simmons, isn't it? Oh, big hit for
English
Hartley
in as well.
English too. So that puts Moynier very comfortably in the lead then.
Dizu staying out as well.
What tyres is Moynier on? He's still on the soft, so he's somehow able to get them to work. Chris English
He's missed his pit box.
Oh dear, so this is turning into a bit of a nightmare for Gravel Trap, isn't it?
A little bit, so it should be Peter we're looking out for first on the wets.
Yeah, so
coming
Peter,
through the last corner.
What are Peter's lap times looking like at the moment? It was a 2:25 last time around, but I think that was pitting. Out the last corner he comes. Is he going to be able to leapfrog these guys?
Or the sort of de facto lead.
Oh, Pascal Eggert
Pascal's
comes
got
out the pits now, and Simmons too. So Peter Schumann is able to jump Simmons, but not his teammate Pascal Eggert. So perhaps Peter pitted a lap earlier. I'm not sure. Where has Oliver Hargitay filled it out? 8th position behind Chris English then. There we go. Hargitay's just catching up him at turn 1. So unfortunately, didn't quite work out for him there. It must have been a really slow pit stop.
But
He
there's
spun on the exit of the pits.
37 seconds between Egger and Mounier, so it depends.
Yeah, Moynier hasn't pit yet, and neither is Remco de Zieu, so this could actually work out in favour of Pascal Egger if the top two pit.
Yeah, or if they don't, if they stay out.
Side by side they go. So Peter Schumann in trouble here. Here comes Andy Simmons around the outside, and Simmons snatches that fourth position off of him.
Yeah, if they stay out, then that lead could very quickly evaporate.
Possibly. I have a feeling de Zieu might pit and Loic Moynier might stay out a bit longer. Or de Zieu, knowing that he's just going to go off track at some point anyway, decide, right, I'm staying out. The rain is about 30%, but we've got 40%
Hartley's back in the
track
pits.
conditions. Oh, so Hartley must have had a
Oh no, it's
issue.
just the timing screen. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Let me
It's showing
refresh
Hartley ninth behind Hargitay, who's now challenging Chris English. There he is. So I think Hartley might have taken a bit of damage from hitting the wall as he entered the pits there. But the rain has really thrown this race into complete chaos. So how many drivers are left? We got, I think Hesketh, Hood, and Smagersgale have all retired. That's for some reason or other. Pascal Egger is set fastest lap of the race, 1:59, but I'm not sure if that was earlier or right now. 38 seconds between de Zieu and Moynier. So it looks like Hunter Birch doing the opposite strategy to what we did at Alton Park race 2, isn't it? Where
the gap to those on the wets doesn't look like it's coming down very quickly.
Yeah, I think both de Zieu and Moynier are on the softs, of course. That's the key thing. No, de Zieu is... Moynier was on the hards, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I'm actually looking at the thing, and it's showing... it was showing me... Oh, it's saying Moynier went for wets before the start.
Ah, okay. Did de Zieu?
No, Moynier went for wets before the start. I think de Zieu was on the softs. Sorry, I
Simmons has passed Egger.
Oh dear, so that's... now Egger in trouble because he's already expensive Schumann. Oh, and that'd be why both Finavons go straight into the gravel, and that shows that the conditions are treacherous even on the wet tyres. And or did they grow on the softs?
Surely not.
Because I looked at the timing screens, it said, "Oh, it's bloody clicking on the driver and sending me out the timing screen and bringing me all the statistics." So I'm actually, yeah, I clicked and it said softs for Peter Schumann.
Okay.
And softs for Pascal Egger. Whereas it shows Loic Moynier started the race on wets, de Zieu's on softs, Simmons on soft as well, but I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Let me refresh the timing screen. It's having a bit of a bad day.
Simmons is on wets, de Zieu is on wets. Moynier keeps changing between softs and wets for some reason. I think they're all on wets. Okay, they all pit for wets then, so that's just in trouble. Here we go. This is Chris English and trying to go around the outside of Schumann.
Ooh.
At the hairpin, he pushes Schumann wide, and that allows Hargitay through.
Yeah, I think
so revenge for all the Hargitay.
Peter couldn't get stopped there as Hartley's off in the background.
Here we go. English has still got the inside for turn 11, though. Is he going to push Oliver Hargitay out of the way? Oliver Hargitay has to get out the throttle and goes a bit off track there on the inside. And all three of them almost go off track there. So Schumann in full defensive mode. And this is crucial for English to finish this race with Hartley in trouble. That could keep his amateur hopes alive. English tries to go around the outside here at the S's, and that could surely let Hargitay dive up the inside here. Oh my goodness me. And all three of them in a train together, and Schumann holding him up. Oh, and again, English has another go, which allows Oliver Hargitay to get himself into position. The green car looks very mucky, doesn't it? With all the rain all over it.
It looks like Istanbul Park. Was it 2020? The Formula
One. It
One
looks like the camo Hunter Birch. As we see, is that Smagersgale trying to get back in the race. Oh, but here we go. Up the inside goes Chris English. And he comes back to the outside then, so he's going to have to sweep around. He's got the better line here. Yeah. Is Peter Schumann going to go too deep? Indeed he does. And goes well and truly into the gravel, so that lets both Hargitay and English through into 6th and 7th positions. Meanwhile, Remco de Zieu is 14 seconds behind Loic Moynier and about 19 ahead of Andy Simmons. So I think Hunter Birch went for the wets before the start and played it. I think that message I sent to them, like, oh, it looks wet, guys, played out.
Loic's about to get a clean sweep.
Yeah, I think he'd be the first to do it, wouldn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and this is excellent for Hunter Birch in the team's championship, at least, especially after they lost 4 points to a gravel trap in race 2. So certainly makes things interesting going into if they can hold this on for the last 4.5 minutes. But a big gap between the top three. So the real battle is for fourth here between Benton, Eggert. Was that
Pascal
Benton?
went off.
Oh, well, okay. Pascal's not going to challenge Carl Benton then, is he? He's really got to worry about Chris English, 1.4 behind him then.
Oh, but English has gone off as well.
Oh, and that's Hargitay almost forcing English off the track there. That was very forceful indeed, but I think just about left enough room. At least didn't push him off track or spin him around. Those two having a great little battle, but it's Hargitay ahead now into the top 6. So now free to chase down Pascal Eggert. So you got a feel for Pascal, haven't you? Because he got the lead early on, was looking to sew this race up, and then it started raining, didn't it? And he came out of the pits behind those who had already started the race on wet tyres.
I believe it's actually stopped raining.
Oh, and that could make it very interesting.
I can't see wipers on anyone.
It's saying 60% rain at the moment in terms of track condition, but it's sunny on the actual track. So this could make things very interesting. Is anyone going to have to pit again in the last 3.5 minutes?
I don't think it'll dry up enough.
I don't think anybody stayed out on the softs, that's for sure. Oh, and look at this. There's that Schoenemann catching up to Hartley. The Schoenemann could cause even more pain for Louis Hartley's championship hopes, because Chris English is only a place ahead in 7th.
As it stands, provisionally, with reports, I think that... Ooh.
Oh! And that's 2 cars in the gravel there. I think one of those was the Morera car, and the other was... Oh, dear. That must have been...
Smaggersgale and Eggert.
Yeah, Eggert's got past Hartley. So Schumann is down to 9th, so I think that might have been... Yeah, Smaggersgale rejoining.
But Smaggersgale's a lap down, yeah.
So Smaggersgale rejoined the race and then crashed into somebody there. So yeah, so it's showing Chris English 6th, Louis Hartley 7th, Peter Schumann 8th. So Eggert did take damage then.
Yep.
So that was Eggert who was taken out there. Good spot, Chris. And a big shame for Pascal. I was already feeling sorry for him. I think feeling sorry for someone means they get taken out of the race, apparently. So I don't feel sorry for any of my drivers. Especially since they're running 1-2 at the moment. Would be our first 1-2, I think.
Oh, English is off.
Oh, big mistake for English, and that's absolutely crucial for the title, isn't it? Or is
well, Hartley's the car behind.
Is Hartley doing enough to win, to win the championship, even if he because he was 3 points off of what he needed over the gap over Chris English, wasn't it?
I believe so, but we've still got reports to come into this, so
yeah, that's true. But a scary moment there, and Hartley himself still under attack from Peter Schumann, 1.6 behind him. Oh no! So a big issue for that gravel trap. Can he get back on safely? He can, but now Louis Hartley that's actually Smaggersgale in between them now on the track, having gotten rid of Pascal Eggert. He fancies taking one of the title protagonists out of the race now, doesn't he? As Chris English really going a bit wide and struggling. Meanwhile, gap up front, 12 seconds between Diziu and Moynier, so I think Moynier's backed off a bit. And Simmons is about 19 seconds still, 18 seconds behind Remco Diziu. So all of a sudden, I'm very lucky that Diziu decided to do this race, because he didn't really want to do it beforehand. 1 minute left, and we're looking good for a 1-2 here. 1-2-5 actually would be one of our best team results ever. Oh, as Remco has a little drift, but has it well and truly under control by the looks of things. Last lap, 207 for Loic Moynier, 209.7s for Diziu and Simmons.
Ooh, that's very twitchy.
He's having fun out there.
Ooh, not like that though.
Not too much fun. Oh, he's got such a big gap, I guess, that he can kind of afford to do that at 19 seconds, but he doesn't want to do too much of that.
Look at this.
Oh, look at this. He's showing off. He's doing the Tokyo Drift, but we are sort of in Onu Prefecture, not the prefecture that Tokyo's in, I think. Is it Omu? I can't remember the Japanese name where Autopolis is. But anyway, the widest entry you've ever seen for every corner.
I think this is the last lap.
This is what he was doing in qualifying as well. Moynier making sure this lap is as long as possible.
Oh, don't overcook it though.
Here we go. 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And Moynier. It's a clean sweep. Race 1, 2, 3 at Autopolis. Go to Loic Moynier and Hunter Burt simulation as he crosses the line, facing the pit wall. But there we go. Style points. If there were style points, he'd get a few. And Remco Diziu is coming through as well. The final corner to take his first podium in a long while. His best result of the season in second position. Through the final corner he comes. Diziu takes second place to make it 1-2 for Underbet Simulation for the first time this season. Unless I'm misremembering something. Third and fourth will be the gravel traps of Simmons and Benton, who's caught up to 1.6 behind his teammate. Will Andy Simmons let Carl Benton through? I think Benton's out of the championship, so he may as well hold on here. Here we go, towards the line then. It's going to be slight disappointment then for Gravel Trap, but they still got a podium even with all this chaos. So I think Andy Simmons will be happy to end on a high note after a few difficult races, or harder races. Oliver Hargitay, he's going to recover to fifth after pitting early on, and in fact, Benton sets his personal best lap of the race on the final lap. Hargitay takes fifth from Chris English, who just about keeps his Drivers' Championship hopes alive. But Louis Hartley, I think race one in Croft could well be where he clinches it. Peter Schumann takes eighth after challenging Louis Hartley most of the race. Igor Studniarek will take ninth after starting really high up the order on the soft tyres. It didn't really go SZ Racing's way, so they finished ninth and 10th. And then I believe Smaggersgale, 3 laps down, will not be classified. So it'll be Eggert, Smaggersgale, Hesketh, Hood, the final order in the non-finishers. Wow. So 1-2 for Underbet Simulation then. So I guess after winning all 3, we've never done that before. So I think it's.
I don't think anyone's ever done that before.
I think drinks are on Loic tonight. But wow. I don't really know what to say after that.
Well, that was a long.
So how many points did we gain then on, let's work it out live. So we lost 4, I think we gained about 15 or 20 in race 1. We got 20, 17, that makes 37. Third and fourth for Gravel Trap is, so yeah, third, fourth and sixth, isn't it? Third, fourth and sixth is, let's see, 28, 38, and then fifth is 48. So we gained 10 points on them, I think.
Okay, so
48. Sorry, yeah. You tell me just working out maths very slowly there.
I think mathematically Hartley has won, but I'm not going to call it because we don't know what
the penalties. There we go. So provisionally, that result was just enough to make Louis Hartley the champion. Because was it 60 points he needed, or
60? Yeah, and I think he's on 61.
Ahead
of
Chris English.
Yeah.
Okay, after the big result in races 1 and 2, basically. So this he just did just enough for Chris English not to close within 60 points. Then. So there we go. So just a confirmation of the final result for those looking on screen, waiting patiently. Loic Moynier takes 1-2 for Underbet Simulation. Remco Diziu 4.9 seconds behind in the end. So I guess that's the showboating that Loic was doing over the line. Andy Simmons takes third, with Carl Benton fourth. Oliver Hargitay fifth, and another great result for Underbet Simulation. Chris English sixth, so Gravel Trap limiting the damage with third, fourth, and sixth. So I think Gravel Trap still in a big advantage in the Teams Championship, but it's got to be about 70 or 80 points now rather than 100. I would hope. But it might be more than that. Finnavond take 7th and 8th with Louis Hartley and Peter Schunemann. Igor Studniarek and Adam Deere that round out the top 10 for SZ Racing. Then it is Pascal Eggert technically ahead of Smaggersgale, who took him out, which I guess is only fair. But neither of them be classified. I think there'll be a question of whether Smaggersgale should have gone back into the race after having missed 3 laps, basically. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. Louis Hesketh and Chris Hood, you got to say, just a miserable day for them. Neither of them really scoring anything. So, does anyone actually want to talk to us post-race? Because Smaggersgale's around. Maybe we can find out what happened to James, shall we? Right, let's drag him in. Okay, so joining us now is Scuderia Moreira driver James Smaggersgale, who unfortunately didn't have too much to celebrate. I think finished race 1 and got a few good points, but races 2 and 3 not quite to plan, James. So we're not sure quite what happened in race 3. It looks like you and Pascal you lost a few laps, came back into the race, and then you and Pascal had a coming together at turn 1, which did not end well for either of you, sadly.
Can you hear me? You all good?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, James.
Yeah. No, I mean with Pascal, I think it's just a coincidence. I don't think we hit each other. I think we just both went straight on at the same time. I think, unless he said otherwise. I don't think I hit him, but
Oh,
yeah, not my
okay.
day really today.
Oh, it was just wrong place, wrong time. So we campaigned on stream. We saw you both going wide at turn 1, so we thought there had been some sort of contact. But I felt a little bit like race 2 was a missed opportunity too, because you and Louis Hesketh, your teammate on the softs, were hoping to car through the field, and I think Louis got hit by Peter, and you sort of also crashed out of race 2, if I remember correctly. What did he finish? I can't remember. There was a lot happening, and my driver has done a 1-2, so I'm in a deliriously good mood. We're actually joined now by like Money.
I think in race 2, I was P9 in the end. I had a incident with Pascal again. Funny enough, I was on a good run. I think he ran wide out of one corner. I have to watch it back, so I'm not going to say anything stupid. But I think he ran wide slightly. I sort of stuck myself down alongside him. He just turned in, and I spun, which sent me right flying back. Gained a couple of positions back, being on softs, but yeah, unfortunate because the wheel problems in race 1 sort of ruined it anyway. So
I just heard from Pascal. He was having issues with his VR headset, so at times he couldn't see where he was going.
Makes sense.
Well, it's a good thing he didn't run into James then, on the third race anyway. But anyway, so I guess I have to say, James, the Scary Maria team seems like I would say that because one of my drivers in it is a former Hunter Birch driver in the form of Chris Hood. But you, Louis Hesketh, and then of course there's Alessandro, who couldn't be there today, but it's also been scoring good. It feels like the team is really setting itself up well if it keeps that lineup in future seasons in the Hyundai, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, getting to grips with the car. I mean, when the game works, it's pretty good. But yeah, we've got a decent lineup. But yeah, future seasons, future races, could be it's a good thing going.
And next one will be the rescheduled Croft. People have been waiting months for that, so fingers crossed that we see Scuderia Marrera get on the podium again and get some big points to end the season on a high. And hopefully you can be leading that charge, James, as you've been threatening to do all season.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, cheers. We always enjoy watching you drive, James, so thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thank you very much.
And anyway, joining us now is another driver I'm also very pleased to see, and that is Loic Meunier from Hunter Birch Simulation. Loic, 3 in a row. Well done. Loic, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Unless I've muted him. No, I haven't muted him. I see Loic trying to speak. I don't hear anything. Nick, do you hear anything?
No.
No, okay. I was checking that you... I'm sorry, Loic. You might have to communicate with us through sign language or something, or plug the mic back in and out. But shall we... Oh dear, poor Loic. Well, that's a shame. Well, Loic did hear me congratulate him, which is one thing, I guess. Shall we try and drag him in again before we get Louis Hartley in? Right, okay. Right, so rejoining us again is Loic Meunier. Loic, can you hear us? We can't hear... I don't think we can hear you, because, again, it's flashing up and Loic's no sound. Oh, keep trying, Loic. Right, okay, how about we leave Loic in here, sort that out, and we'll drag Louis Hartley in while Loic is trying to figure out whatever the issue is with his microphone. It might be a mumble thing, you never know. And joining us now is... what should we call him, Nick? Champion-elect? Because we don't know quite yet in terms of the penalties whether anyone's going to protest any of the results and get Chris English a few extra points.
I think it's likely, judging by what I've seen, there's going to be protests from that.
Yeah, but anyway, we think, having just got enough points he needed over Chris English, it was overall a pretty strong, certainly opening 2 races for Louis Hartley. And then the third race was a chaotic race of survival, really, Louis, that didn't quite go to plan. But you had a great battle with Kyle Benson in races 1 and 2, didn't you? That was extremely entertaining to watch, where Kyle just kept going where you wanted to go and defending in the racing line, and you got him in race 1 right at the end, and then in race 2 you caught him up right at the end and sort of ran out of time to make a move, I guess. Is that how you read it, Luke?
Yeah, for how wide a track it is, it's actually really hard to pass here. So a lot of the time I was just sitting behind him and couldn't find a way through. He was doing a really good job defending. So race 1 it took until he missed the apex of turn 1 and I got through on his mistake. I don't think I would have made a move if it was left up to me. So he did a really good job in those first 2 races. Good fun.
Yeah, indeed. And the third race with the rain, could you talk us through it, Luke? Because it looked, especially when you pit, was there damage when you came into pit? Because it looked a little bit like you and I think was it you and Chris sort of pit at the same time? You had Chris sort of catching up to you, and you pit at the same just behind I think Andy and Kyle, I think, from Gravel Trap, and it felt like your pace wasn't quite the same after that because you were trying to hold off Peter for the rest of the race. So I know race 3 sort of went our way and purchased way for a change, which is quite nice. But you didn't quite get the rub of the green. You couldn't really make a difference near the end because it looked like your car was really damaged.
My pit stop ended up being a complete disaster. So I already had some damage from earlier on. I think lap 1 there was an incident in front of me and made a bit of contact. And then on the way into the pit lane, I made the mistake of taking the chicane at the pit entry on the pit limiter, which was too quick. So I bumped into the wall and then locked up in the wet, missing my pit box because I didn't expect it to be so early in the pit lane, and then stalled and had to reverse back to my pit garage. And then all that I forgot to turn off fixing damage, so I was there waiting about 10-15 seconds longer than I had to. So it was a bit of a disaster, that pit stop.
Yeah, well, still, a disaster was good enough to potentially, fingers crossed, from your point of view, seal the Drivers' Championship over Chris Hood. Well, we don't know if that's official yet, but have you enjoyed the fight with Chris? And the sort of, ever since really round like 3 or 4, Chris has sort of emerged as a quite clear challenger to you, and you've had some pretty good fights. It's occasionally got a little bit heated and a bit of contact here and there, but it's mostly been really close, hard fights, and especially Gravel Trap. I felt in race 2 they were deliberately trying to slow you down, Andy Simmons, to sort of make sure he was trying to back you into Chris, and then you basically just drove around the outside of Andy Simmons and sort of scuppered the plan completely.
Yeah, halfway through race 2 I realised even if passed Simmons, he would have let English through anyway, so I wouldn't have ended up gaining more points. So that one was just a bit of racing for fun. I don't think I would have got the championship from this, would I? I think it was 23 more points than I had to score. I wouldn't have got quite that.
I think you needed 60, because you get 20 points for a win. Of 3 more races, you needed a 60-point gap over Chris, I think. So it's...
Yeah, so the 23 points that I needed to score more than him would have put me on a 61-point lead. So I think I only would have scored about 15 more than him in this. I think it'll still go down to Croft unless reports get involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But it certainly seemed like the only race we finished ahead of you was race 3. Oh, pardon me, sorry. It's all falling apart here. Race 3, sorry. But anyway, I guess that's all, Louis. We don't know quite yet whether you're champion or not, but you've certainly driven a great season either way. And if you're not champion out, we'll wait to see you get those last few points that you really need over Chris English to become a champion in Croft, which I think, unless Chris English pulls out a Loic Moynier kind of day, I can't quite see it swinging, but you never know. So best of luck, and thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, no problem. Should be good fun.
You guys having a lot of fun rating for race 2, I noticed, where they were trying to flip you over.
Oh, yeah. I was just trying to get used to the hards because I took my softs in race 1, found that at the hairpin going on and thought it'd be a bit boring not to get involved. Then we had a few others show up afterwards. It ended up being quite the event, that.
It's almost like the pre-title victory party, I guess.
Yeah, me and Loic and the others seems to get up to some good shenanigans between races. There's some other stuff going on at East London where they went down to the beach, and I think Alton were driving around the infield.
Well, who knows what you're going to get up to in Croft in Yorkshire. Just run off into the Dales, I guess.
Yeah, I think you can get into some like wheat fields or something like that, because there's a good few bits where they don't have walls there.
world champion crop circle, or donut or something.
Might have to.
Right. Anyway, let's see if they've Studio 397 have modeled that. But anyway, thank you very much, Louis, and have a great evening. And well done on your 2 podiums.
Thanks, you too, for a good evening.
So finally, hopefully, we can talk to Loic Moynier. Loic, are you there? Can you? Is your voice getting through?
Is my voice getting through?
Yes, it is. We can hear you, Loic. It
Yes.
sounds like there's a fan in the background, but it's not too loud. So
It's my wheel.
Ah, okay. It's just something else. So, what an amazing trio of drives there. Race 1, you had the soft tires and drove into the distance. Race 2, you had the hard tires. Louis Hartley and the gravel traps all battled together, and you drove off into the distance. Race 3, everyone in front of you either hit for wet tires or just fell off the road in front of you. And you got a 1-2, you and Remco doing an excellent job there. Then Remco definitely recovering from a difficult first 2 races. So really, you didn't really put a foot wrong in any of those races, and you were incredibly quick in qualifying, nearly a second quicker than Oliver in the other car. Oliver also had a pretty good set of races, considering it was his first weekend as well. I understand I have you to thank for coaching him through how to drive this car around Autopolis, and I can see why. You're a very good teacher. So congratulations. I think you're the first man to get to win all 3 races in race 1, 2, and 3, even of a reverse grid. The rain definitely helped in the end, but it didn't make it easy, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely giving credit, a big ton of credits to the rain to help. When we saw that we had to grid up for race 3 and it was 1% rain, I was like, well, okay, this is just gonna flood. So you take a gamble, you decide to do the first lap on drives and pit for wets, or you just start on wets anyway. And it turned out to be the right call. I was actually, with Oliver starting the race, it gave me more motivation to practice ahead of the event and introduce him to what is those BTCC cars. They're a little different to what you should be used to in those R Factor 2 GT cars. So you have to adapt to the car specific behavior and sort of stuff, and that helped me as well gain lap time, obviously, to do laps before the event. Happy I didn't bother qualifying. There was a little more lap time in it, if I want to be honest, but it was a great lap, clear of Oliver, and don't count that it was such a dominant lap, because those guys are still running with ballast in qualifying. Those championship leaders, Louis,
that's very true.
Kyle, who knows how much lap time there's in it.
You were running a ballast in race 2 though, and Louis Hartley couldn't catch.
I had a ballast in race 2 and I had the hards on. I just capitalized on getting used to the car with so much weight in the first laps. And then as soon as they started battling behind me, this is when people are fighting behind you, this is the time where you have to pull your head down, you look ahead, and you know you're gonna pull a gap. So this is the chance I had, took it, and afterwards I think the gap stayed at like 5-6 seconds, didn't change much. So it definitely helped to know that what the guys are doing, what your rivals are doing, so that you can make calls.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay.
And just a final word for the rain. This car is so fun if you manage to drift it.
I saw at the end you were basically just going sideways into every corner, which you can kind of do here at Autopolis because of all the S-bends.
Yeah, those long radius corners really help. You just crank 4th gear and that's it.
I think you kept feeding time to Remco while you were doing that, but you had such a big lead that it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I'm very happy Remco got to get on the podium for a 1-2. It's great for the team and it's great for himself.
Yeah, great for our championship hopes as well, which are still a little bit unlikely that we're going to steal it off gravel trap, but now maybe there's just a little bit of we can do this now. Because we were about 102 points behind going in. I think we're down to at least 70 or 80 or something like that. It depends because we didn't. I think they gained a little bit on us in race 2 because Remco crashed out. But to keep the points battle with Gravel Trap going to the final race, I think is a big achievement considering we've had like 8 or 9 drivers over the course of the season. So I'm glad I heard you, by the way.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this car. It's very fun.
Yeah, well, you got one last chance to do another clean sweep at Croft. How are you feeling about Croft then? A very different track to Autopolis with a little bit more of a traditional British touring car track. So a few more curbs, a few more tight corners as well that might play in the hands of the rear-wheel drive.
I'm gonna do like I did for all races of this championship so far, except Alton Park, which is I don't know the track. I'm just gonna learn it as I go around. But it sounds fun. It looks fun.
Certainly is, and I'm sure it'll be worth the wait after we had to abandon it earlier this season for understandable reasons. But anyway, thanks very much for coming in to talk, and thanks for your kind words about the rest of the team as well, and all your help for Oliver as well. I think he appreciated it too. And I'm sure it's a matter of time before we see Oliver on the podium too, before we see that Hunter Birch 1, 2, 3. Maybe not this season, but the next one, I think we might be able to pull that off, because I know Gravel Trap have done it, so we can do it too.
Yeah, let's do it.
Want to keep on the driver services for next season. So anyway, final thoughts, Nick, before we sign off from Autopolis. Only one more to go before this season's out, and wow, still both championships hanging a little bit on the thread, but there are clear favourites going in with slight advantages, you might say.
Yeah, it feels like forever since Thruxton, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like a lot's happened, especially in our team.
This should have been the finale. There should be no more races, but we've got yeah, I think Croft's going to be a good place to finish it. It's a good touring car track, quite tricky.
And with the auto weather, I have no doubt it's going to rain again, like it has the last couple of races. At least one of them has been wet.
But yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun.
Everything.
Whatever happens, it'll be fun.
But anyway, congratulations again to Loic Moynier for winning all 3 races. The first driver this season, or I think in any of the seasons. I think when we only had 2 races, Mia Rose did it a few times, but no one has ever won 3 in a row. Yeah, so, yeah, definitely. So you have to say big props to Loic and to all the great drivers who put on a fantastic show for us today. Potentially, congratulations for Louis Hartley for winning the championship, almost, maybe. We don't know.
Thank you, I think.
Oh, Louis is still here. So thank you very much for that. And thank you, of course, to the audience. So I guess Joshua Hamilton and like 2 or 3 others who've been watching all the way through, even when we were away. And seeing some of the comments, somebody says, Chris Hood, what the hell? So someone not impressed by Chris's driving near the end there. And front wheel drives are not coping in the rain, says Josh Hamilton. I think that certainly proved to be the case. So more rain, please, is my point of view. But anyway, thank you very much for watching the penultimate round of EERC British Touring Car Championships in 2023, 2022, 2023, our second season. Only one more round to go in the Yorkshire Dales in Croft. And it's going to be either Louis Hartley or Chris English that lifts the Drivers' Championship, and Gravel Trap or Hunter Birch Simulation that lifts the Teams' Championship. So it could go either way. It could go down to the very, very last race. We'll have to see. But I've been Edward Hunter along with Nick Homewood. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in Yorkshire. Goodbye.